This presentation is made possible by these amazing individuals and organizations. Whether it was through Patreon, Super Chats, Super Stickers, or by watching, liking, and commenting, I really appreciate each and every one of you. Hello, welcome to the show, everybody. It's Retro Nerd Girl, and I'm broadcasting live from the International Science Fiction Space Station. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are going to be looking at the final years of the canon films. We've already done 2 episodes of this kind of run through of all of the things canon. And I really am enjoying this. And I was putting together the slideshow for today, and I was like, wow, there's some of my favorite movies in here. I mean, we did though. My ultra favorite canon film is definitely Life Force, but there's some others in here that are actually quite juicy. So let's get to it. Let's start right away by looking at who's in the chat? Who's in there? We've got Brogu first up with the first comment. And let me focus my eyes. For some reason, my glasses are so, well, not my glasses, my eyes are really blurry right now. As a retro nerd girl, you are familiar with the beauty of the sun. Oh, wow. The sun, moon, and stars because of your inner and outer beauty. You belong among these heavenly bodies, even outshining them in your own way. That is very, my God, Broca. That's incredible. Thank you. That's really and that's I'm speechless. Thank you for the very, very, very kind words. I appreciate you taking the time to write this and to think of all those wonderful things to say to me. That is really nice. I appreciate it. Thank you. And William Blake Hall says greetings to everybody. I can never seem to stay away. Not sure that what I'll say though, 1986 is about the when I started to give up on Canon, and I think you weren't the only one because there were a lot of people saying, these Canon films." They were starting to figure some things out about Canon films about 86. And William Blake Hall says, "Although I do love me some Delta Force." Awesome theme music. It'll get in your heart and it'll get your heart started on a cold winter morning. And let's see. And oh, sweet Virgo says, "Hi, William. I'll be quiet and listen to RNG and Lance." That is so sweet. Yes, Lance from the Outcast Creative is here, and he is in the green room waiting. I'm just going to go through your comments real quick and see if I can bring him on. Let's see. Not much. And William says, "Not much point in being quiet, especially if we are not even sure Lance." He is here. He is definitely here. I need to keep people straight and not mix up Lance Chafin. Oh, yes, yes. Lance Chafin. I did see that he was in the chat. Hello, Lance Chafin. And but we haven't gotten to his comment yet. And William Blake Hall says, "I was just going to say, I love me some Cobra too." Yes, Cobra was so amazing. I guess 1986 was a pivotal year. Yes, 1980. Yeah, we did cover a Cobra in the last one, and Virgo said that he loves Cobra too. I broke my silence. And say, let's see if we can jump down really quickly because we've got Unicorn Rampant Studio in the house. Good afternoon, everyone. Just sitting back with a little headache. Oh my goodness, I know how you feel listening in. It's our hottest day in a cluster of hot days. So hopefully we'll get a cool down soon. Hopefully you guys will get some rain or a cool breeze come through. And definitely, I know what it's like to have a headache. I have them sometimes chronically. So I understand. Please, yes, do rest and we'll keep it down so that we're not too loud over here. Um, let's see who else is in the house today. Yes, as I was saying, Lance Chafin is in the house. Says, "Hey, RNG, my beauty queen." Oh, thank you, Lance. Let's see. Um, and I know there were a few other people that walked through the door as we were coming in. Oh, yes, 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 yes. Hungry Jerk is here. Says, "Hi, people." Hi, Hungry Jerk. How are you today? And John Walker is in the house. Let's see if I can find John Walker. There it is. John Walker's in the house. Great to see you, John Walker. And oh, look, look, look. Wade's here. Hi, Wade. How are you? Yes, thank you for joining the channel and subscribing, and I hope you like it. This is one of the live streams that I have, and we've had 3 so far about Canon films, and this is going to be the wrap up today. So welcome, welcome, welcome. And Tojo is here. How are you, Tojo? Just stopping by to say hello. Okay. Um, and of course, the man of the hour, the Outcast Creative, is here. And we are, oh, look who's here. It's Sil Abdul. My goodness, I haven't seen you in so long. So great to see you. And yeah, oh my God, guys, if you want to get some good scoops on what's happening in the news or good conversations, go on ahead and check out Sel Abdul's channel. It's one of the best channels on YouTube, I would say. Really great channel. It says, "Yo, pour out a little liquor for Canon Masters of the Universe film." That's right. I love me some He-Man, some Skeletor. Yes. I was trying to figure out how many things. What are all the reasons why I love this film? There's too many, too many. And so yes, so good to see you. So excited that you were in the chat. And so let's get Lance on the the screen. Lance, are you ready? I don't have a picture confirmation. Well, let me just see if I can add him. Lance, are you there?
I am here.
Oh, yeah, great. Yes, just for everyone, everyone's knowledge, this is Lance from the Outcast Creative. It's a wonderful channel. Even just this week, he's got some industry insiders that will be on his show. Tell us about your show on Tuesday.
That was the Lone Wolf thing, I think.
Oh, no, I'm talking about the one that's coming up.
Oh, the one that's coming up. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, we're interviewing Will Johnson, who had a great role in the last season of House of Dragon, and is actually a dear friend of mine going back many years. And his character's one of the Valerian guys with the big dreads. I can't remember his full character name, but he gets his head lopped off by Matt Smith.
Yes. We can't forget that from House of Dragons.
And I was actually texting him during that scene when I was watching it, saying, "My God, this speech you're doing is so great, and this is setting you up for next season. You're going to have such a great role."
No.
And then literally, and I sent the text, and literally seconds after sending it, it was like, whoof, I was like, "Oh, I think I spoke too soon." Still a great scene, though. Fantastic scene.
Yeah.
So he's going to be talking about that, among other things.
That's
with
gonna
us.
be awesome.
And he's
Yeah,
going to
that
be
is
with me here. He's going to be sitting next to me, actually. So,
yeah, that's great. And yes, he was so wonderful in that show. It was just one of those moments in where they did something really unique on that show, and I just love that they took that risk and it paid off really well. It was such a good show, such a good show, and I can't wait till next season. Well, I really
me
want to
too.
get into what Canon Films so we had a nice. Let me just add um, the legendary slideshow for everyone to see. But let's see. I went through the founding um, of the company and went through all of that with you guys. And we're gonna see if I can get to. We got a whole bunch of movies that we talked about in great detail. Lance showed us some wonderful memorabilia that you have and
Soundtracks, mainly.
soundtracks and had some great stories to share.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice to go through the slideshow and see what we did talk about. And we're gonna get to um, the part I need to get to. Let's see. Went through all these movies. Yeah, and so that was the end of part 2. And now for part 3. And
Canon
actually
Films and the Chasm of Doom is the third episode. Kinda.
Yes. So the things that I highlighted in red are just things that I'm familiar with, or and the ones if you see in blue, those are the kind of things that I want to check out at least one time. But
Okay.
so the one movie here, Firewalker. Do you know about that movie at all?
Do I know about it? Well, I have the Blu-ray on the shelf right here.
Okay. Yes, guys, remember it's show and tell. Let's see, get a nice clean. Let's get a good look at that. Oh wait,
Hang
we
on,
didn't get to see.
sorry, my lights is a bit rubbish, but I've also got the Let me hold them both up for you. I've also got the vinyl soundtrack as well. So
Sweet. Look at that.
there you go.
Ooh, you're the real deal.
Yeah, I've got a soft spot for that film. It's not a brilliant movie, but it's a good effort, and I like the fact that they tried to do something different with Chuck Norris.
I think I felt that way too. I actually enjoyed it a lot more
Oh
than
yeah,
a lot
yeah,
of
it's a
other
lot of
people
fun.
did. Yeah, I know that for it didn't the pace there was issues with the pacing for people, and a lot of people weren't used to seeing Chuck Norris like that, but I loved it. I was like, just I wanted more, to be honest. But and of course I love Louis Gossett Jr. He's just wonderful. And
Yeah, the pairing of them together worked a lot
I
better than you
think
thought it
so.
might have
Yeah.
done.
Let me just read some of the stuff I've got here. Firework, a 1986 American action adventure comedy film starring Chuck Norris, Gossett Jr., Will Sampson in his final feature role, and Melody Anderson. And we know that she is we're familiar with her from Flash Gordon 1980. And it was directed by J. Lee Thompson and written by Norman Adjem, Robert Gospel, and Jeffrey M. Rossbaum. It was the first comedic role for Norris, giving him a chance to poke fun at his action persona. And the film was one of Cannon's strongest performing movies at the box office in 1986. However, it was a relative disappointment compared to the other Norris films, earning a little over 10 million. It was ultimately considered a flop. Cannon went on to into financial receivership soon afterwards. So this is one of the movies that, because it didn't really do so great, kind of push things along for their ultimate, what happened in later on. But it was the first sign that they really needed to do something fast, and they didn't heed the call. Let's see. And the next one is Duet for One, which is, I think, a lot different from what they usually do. Do you have any comments on this movie?
Yeah, I saw this film. I remember renting it out on video, and I also remember it being in the big Canon pack. You remember we talked about that last week, the big book that was sitting in the office with all the films they were either going to do or already were in production, some of which never saw the light of day. I haven't seen this since I watched it, but I vaguely remember quite liking it.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
it is
Oh,
essentially it's a based on a play, and it's nearly all set in one or two locations. So I mean, it is just two actors strutting their stuff. But I vaguely recall that I quite liked it,
mhm.
and it got a Golden Globe for Julie Andrews, so it
Yeah.
can't be that terrible.
It was, had some critical acclaim for it, even though it wasn't a financial success. It was critically successful, which is just, I think, just as good, don't you? Um, and so what I didn't do was I did not check to see what other people had to say about Firewalker. So forgive me, guys. I did not mean to do that. I just got lost in the moment. But William Blake Hall says quite a few good Louis Gossett Jr. collaboration. I like Digstown. Have you heard of that movie?
I don't think I've seen that.
Yeah, I've never heard of that movie. And Hungry Jerk says that he met Chuck Norris in 1979 when when he was a kid. Wonderful. Oh
That
my
must have been
gosh.
cool.
Oh wow. That is really cool. Um That is very cool. Yeah, so no one else has seen this duet for one. This is I have to see this because it looks like it's going to be interesting. Is it looks like a heavy drama? It says here, just read the little thing that I've got going on. But for 1986 British drama adapted from the play to Hander by the name of the play is Two Hander by Tom Kempinski about a world famous concert violinist named Stephanie Anderson, who is suddenly struck with multiple sclerosis. It was set in London and directed by Andrei Konchalovsky, Golden Globe for Best Actress in a Dramatic Role, Julie Andrews. Very
Yeah,
nice.
just to pick you up there, the on one technical thing, the play would have been called Duet for One. A two-hander is a technical term in theatre referring to a play with two actors in it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
A
when they say
two-hander. Oh, okay.
when they
Gotcha,
say it's a
gotcha. With the same name.
two-hander,
I gotcha. A
yeah,
two-hander, yes.
they mean it's a two-hander play. In
Yeah,
other words,
just
there's a
it's just
cast of
2
two.
people.
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay, gotcha. Thank you for that. Getting an education here. This
Industry,
is great.
industry theatrical
Yes,
term,
of course, I'm not
Yeah.
familiar with theatrical, with the theater as much. I know, like, a few things, but not the inside stuff. William Blake Hall says, "Weird trivia, Kochanovsky directed both Duet for One and Tango and Cash." What?
That's two real extremes
What?
there. Yeah.
That's wild. Thank you, William Blake Hall. That's a bit of trivia that um and Moonbeam 87 says, "Wow, 1986 was when I was 10, and 1994 when I graduated from high school." Yeah, it's a while back. Um, and let's see. So, just moving along the lines of, they were doing a lot of they had a library here, and they were doing a lot of distribution here at this time, and then some HBO stuff. And let's see if we can get to the ones that are like actually there. Why isn't this working? Oh, don't tell me I have the wrong one. Oy, 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 oy,
No,
oy.
this is the right list, I think, because Over the Top was made when they were going under.
Okay, there we go. It's just like a whole list of movies that they were that was in their library. Okay, I thought I was for a second there. So I was starting to panic. Oh gosh. Oh look. Maddie's daddy's here. Hello, Maddie's daddy. How are you? um and uh And William Blake Hall says, "Your sister's a werewolf, I think, that features Christopher Lee and Sybil Danning." Yep, that one, which we did cover last week. We did cover that one last week. Okay, so now we've got Alan Quartermain and the um, the Lost City of Gold.
Mm.
You don't like? Do you like this one?
I never saw it.
Oh, you never saw this one.
No, it didn't get a cinema release in the UK. I think because by the time if it was released in '86,
Yeah.
I don't remember it coming out quite as quick as that. It could be that it was released in '86 elsewhere, but I
Mm-hmm.
have a distinct memory that unless it was on in London really briefly and I missed it, but I was pretty up to speed with what was coming out. My recollection is that this went straight to video in the UK.
Oh, most likely, and the
Yeah.
box office is really, really terrible. So let me, so Alan Quartermain and the Lost City of Gold, 1986, directed by Gary Nelson, loosely based on 1886 novel Alan Quatermain by H. Rider Haggard. It is the sequel to the 1985 film King Solomon's Mines. Stars Richard Chamberlain and Sharon Stone, who was nominated for the Golden Raspberry Award for Worst Actress for the role. The
Did
film won
she win
also,
it?
yeah, no, she just was nominated. I think she lost to Madonna. I'm
Oh,
not sure. She may have lost to Madonna, for Who's That Girl? I think. I'm not sure. The film was also starred James Earl Jones, Henry Silva, and Cassandra Peterson, as we know, Elvira. So, the budget was, 13 million, and they were only able to get 3.8 million back from the box office. So, yeah, that's probably one of the reasons why we didn't see it. It performed quite poorly.
Richard Chamberlain disputes that was the budget for the film. He said it in an interview. It looked like they'd spent $3 and on everything. And
Yes.
did you know that Sharon Stone was only cast in these Quatermain films by accident?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah,
I
because
explained it a little bit last week.
yeah, because Golan said, "Get me that Stone woman," and he meant Kathleen Turner from *Romancing the
Mhm.
Stone*, and the
Mhm.
casting director just thought he meant Sharon Stone, who at that
Sharon.
time I don't think was particularly well known.
No, and I think these movies really helped, people to get to know her a little bit.
Yeah,
'Cause I just remember, how over the top she was in her all the scenes. She was always, like, super over the top complaining and stuff. But they said that, she really did not enjoy herself, on the set and really, for both movies, you know, was not a happy camper. And, like, she didn't like the being there, and nobody liked her being there, so it
yeah,
was really,
that's what
uh
I heard.
hostile environment, but, I think that they're, funny movies. They may not be the best, but, definitely funny. And, Maddie's daddy says that he's lurking while working. It rhymes. And, yes.
Should I watch this one just for the sort of kitsch value?
For the kitsch value, I would say, if you have time to waste. Um,
I
I
n
mean, yeah.
I never have time to waste in my
Yeah,
life.
I mean,
Don't have
if
enough time.
you're lamenting, like, to see James Earl Jones in something or, Elvira in something, going right ahead. It gets really silly a lot. It's, like he said, it really wasn't, didn't have a lot of money behind it.
Yeah.
So it did, it could be funny for you. It depends on your sense of humor. You might get a laugh from it. Uh,
At
so
least one.
at least one laugh. And movie says 1986 is when the Challenger blew up. Chernobyl on Saturday, April 26, 1986. Okay, Lost City of Gold. Um, and it is free with ads on Tubi. Yes, okay, that's great. So if anybody wants to see this, it's free with ads on Tubi, which is always great to know. Thank you for that information, Moonbeam. And Mike William Blake Hall said Gary Nelson, director of Lost City of Gold, also directed The Black Hole. Wow!
That's a good movie.
Oh, wow, yeah. Okay, thank you, William, that's great to know. Um, yeah, that stone woman, that's what he called well, that's what he was asking for, and they were like, "Okay." Uh, um, and let's see. Oh, okay, we've got, Joabra here. Hello, Joabra. It says, "Hi, RNG, Bloodsport rules." Necron and I did an episode about it on his channel. Oh, really? Oh, wow, cool. Yeah, Bloodsport is coming up, definitely. Uh, and yeah, let's see. Let's move on to the next one, I would say. Next one, we've got Over the Top. Oh, man. All right.
Yeah, well, I mean, what can you say about this film?
It is over the top. It's about a man and his son, or trying to get closer to his son, and he needs to arm wrestle, and so they make a whole movie about a guy arm wrestling.
I mean, I think the subplot with the son thing is quite decent, although I vaguely recollect that the child actor wasn't great.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, I think somebody said it on the Canon documentary. You
It
know
was okay.
that it's not a boxing match. It's like and then the
Yeah,
film's over.
yeah.
So I mean, who sat down in a room and said, "Let's do a film about arm wrestling for Stallone"? You've got a big hot property, Stallone. You want to use him properly, so it's going to be it needs to be something a bit bigger than that.
Mhm. That
Um,
was, yeah, and I think that's where all of the kind of creation stuff by Menahem uh, Golan is sort of like he had all these ideas, but I think he needed somebody to say, okay, that's not gonna work, and be very firm with it, but also like come up with more ideas because he did have ideas. They just needed some sculpting. But yeah, no one was. I think people were afraid to tell him that stuff. He had a very strong personality. So Over the Top, starring Sylvester Stallone, produced and directed by Menahem Golan. I believe this is the second movie that Stallone did with them.
I think I want to say that Cobra came out first.
Yeah, we did cover Cobra last week.
That's right. Yeah.
And it was, like they said, produced and directed by Menahem. Screenplay was written by Sterling Silliphant and Stallone. So Stallone said, "Okay, I guess that's what we're doing." He went ahead and wrote the screenplay. So he had a hand in this too. The original music score was composed by Giorgio Moroder, which is like he's
Who
a
did
legend.
Together in Electric Dreams?
Yeah. And so the budget was 25 million and the box office only was able to pull in 16 million. So that is harsh.
It was because of the contract for this film that A-list actors price tags skyrocketed
Mhm.
because when word got out how much Stallone was paid for this movie, I think it was at least 4 million or more. Then suddenly it was like all the actors at Stallone's level said that was their minimum fee. So Canon overnight managed to escalate the costs for all the studios with one fell swoop, which I find that quite amusing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he kind of changed the industry, but also um they did something really loony then, but it was for Stallone, it worked out great. And no complaints from him. And William Blake also says, all I remember about Over the Top was a Hammy Sagar music video. Oh, which one was it? I forgot. Um,
Yeah, there was a song that went with the movie that they tried to get to chart, but I can't remember it.
I'll have to check it out.
It
Um,
certainly wasn't up there with Eye of the Tiger, that's for sure.
mm, and let's see. Don't forgive me, guys, if I'm bouncing, skipping any of your comments. If you need to, um, just repeat them if I skip them. Um, Joaba says his arm wrestling competitors were the best characters in the movie to me. Oh, really? Not the sun. And Moonbeam says the black hole is a classic. I remember seeing it in theaters and asking how is he going to get out of that fire, and my parents told me that that he was there forever, and it was the final scene. um and Unicorn Rampant Studio says I think it's used at some of the quick victory scene montages. Oh, that song, huh? Okay.
Yeah, he's talking about the song from Karate Kid, I think, You're the Best.
Oh, you're the bat? Oh.
Somebody was talking about that in the chat,
Oh,
and
okay. Yeah, guys, I'm so if we can stick to topic. I am totally if that's the case, I can't
unless
um
they might be talking about the other song, but
is it the song?
I can't remember.
I
I
don't
mean, I
know.
can't remember much about the movie, let alone the songs.
I thought it was the song. Um
Yeah.
and Mark D with a C is here and says, "Hail everyone." And just saying he's lurking too. Hope you haven't melted in Vegas yet. And talking to Maddie's daddy. Okay. Um Okay, thank you. Um, let's see if there's another picture from the movie. One of the favorite characters. There he is. All right, and so the next one, I'm going to tell you something. Um, this this movie here, I loved so much. Me and my mom both we loved this movie. It makes no sense. It makes no sense, really. It does. It doesn't make any sense. I just love this movie, okay? Have you seen it?
I have, and I've got a soft spot for these guys. I don't know if you know, one of them passed away not that long ago.
No.
Yeah,
Oh, this
I
breaks
think
my heart.
I might be wrong, but I think it might have been during the pandemic from COVID, because funnily enough, I was trying to track down this film to watch it again, because I want to do this stream on all the cheesy sort of naff fantasy films that were made in Italy, and like Deathstalker and all of those.
Oh, yeah.
And I think this one uses some of the same sets from
Of
some of
course.
those movies. There's a castle set that gets reused in like 7 or 8
I'm sure.
Italian co-productions. Um,
Yeah.
but the first time I saw these brothers was in The Flamingo Kid. Do you remember that movie?
No. I'm pretty certain I saw it, but I don't remember them.
It's an absolutely fantastic film that's been, I think, probably been largely forgotten, with Matt Dillon playing a cabana boy who gets involved in a card game with
Ooh, excuse
bless
me.
you, bless you.
Sorry.
It's cold up there in the space station.
Yes, the
Um,
allergies are starting to get to me, guys.
yeah, he gets involved with a card game with a card shark played by Richard Crenera, and probably Richard Crenera's best performance is in The Flamingo Kid. And his dad is played by that wonderful actor who plays the boss in of the hotel in Pretty Woman, who's his Italian name. It's gone out of my head. But that's the first film the Barbarian brothers are in, and they chuck Matt Dillon off a pier, and they're actually quite funny in that movie. And I remembered from that film. So when I saw this in the Canon brochure, this was another film that was in the big book, in the office. I thought, oh, that's
Oh,
those guys from the Flamingo Kid. I've got to check it out.
well, I gotta look at the Flamingo Kid again because it's been so long.
You should. I'm definitely going to do a retro review of that movie. I watch it
Mhm.
like almost every other year, and it still holds up really well.
Okay, yeah. I will definitely be doing that. Let me uh, read off the information I've got here. Barbarians 1987, directed by Rogerio Diodato and starring Barbarian brothers Peter and David Paul, Richard Lynch, and Ava LaRue. I just love myself some Ava LaRue. And the film is an Italian and American co-production shot in Rome and the Abruzzo Mountains. Peter and David Paul were nominated for a Golden Raspberry Award for the worst new stars for this film. It was hardly noticed at the box office, but became a cult film. Yes, like I told you, my mom took me to see this movie because one weekend we wanted to see something in the at wanted to go to the movies and nothing really was going on at the time and we went to see the Barbarians and it was it was so funny and ever since we watch it we'd watch it on occasion and just just laugh so hard because they were funny. They really had great comedic timing, and it was kind of interesting that they blended this, like, you know, this incredible age, of, Conan's age, and then kind of put it together with this funny comedic thing. And I didn't really I never saw that before. And so for me and my mom, we were like, "What is this? We like it," and it wasn't like Beastmaster, because Beastmaster did have more serious tones to it. Um, and this one, I don't know, it struck a nerve for us, and we just loved it, and we love the rapport of the twins. Just rest in peace. Which one was it? Was it
It
Peter
was
or David?
No, it was David who passed away.
Oh
On
yeah.
IMDb, the cause of death is listed as undisclosed, but I'm sure I remember hearing it was COVID.
Oh,
Um,
oh.
and Richard Lynch, of course, who played the bad guy in the film, they would have said,
Mhm.
"Let's get the bad guy from Sword and the Sorcerer. He was great," and
Yes.
so they got him um, in the movie. The movie's got some pretty good shots in it, from what I remember. It's not like
Mhm.
it's not without some merit, but I think tonally you're right. It's sits very uncomfortably. It's not quite Beastmaster. It's not quite Conan the Barbarian.
Mhm.
It's a mesh of different tones, and I mean the brothers look like they had a good time making it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think this was an attempt to sort of launch them as part of the studio franchise of actors.
Oh,
Same with
sure.
Jean-Claude Van Damme, of course, and you had
Mhm.
the two Chucks, and I think they were trying to establish them as stars. But I mean, of course, they were very limited in terms of their ability.
Mhm.
But they were fine in these roles.
Yeah, I loved it. William Blake Hall says the Barbarians came out about uh, the the same month as another canon movie, Street Smart, starring both Christopher Reeven, with a young Morgan Freeman,
Yeah, that
in his
that
eye-catching the debut.
that film was part of the deal of Reeve coming
Mhm.
back to doing Superman 4.
Yep, and we're gonna come to it, so
Yeah,
we'll be able to talk more about it when we
yeah.
get to it. And Mummy says, "The Barbarians is campy and is the first film I saw starring, David, and Peter Paul." Yeah. Um, and, Joe Abba says,
Mm,
Diodato did classic horror movies such as Cannibal Holocaust.
God,
Wow.
yeah. And I never forget the cover of the video of that when I first saw it.
Oh,
It's
really?
had a woman impaled on a
Oh,
log,
no.
and it
No,
was
see, I can't even.
yeah, we won't
No!
go there because we wanna keep this, family
Yes,
friendly, but
yes,
yeah,
we have to keep it
it was like, "Oh, I'm
too
gonna
late.
put that back on the shelf, not touching that one."
Yes, yes. It's too late for that yeah. Okay, well, John Walker says, "The first time I see Peter and David Paul, they played villains in an episode of Knight Rider." Oh, really?
Yeah,
Cool.
I remember that episode,
And
actually.
I thought I saw all the Knight Riders. I could
I
I
think that
gotta hunt
don't
that down.
I seem to recall they were the henchmen of the main bad guy, but I could
Oh,
be
okay.
wrong. But,
Okay.
I mean, God, it was a long time ago.
Okay, and, let's see. Yes, The Barbarians is on MGM Plus. Oh, okay, it's on MGM Plus. Thank you. Um, William Bacall says Richard Lynch was an institution, a reliable villain. Oh, yeah, he did know how to play the heck out of a villain. All
Yeah,
right, let's.
I said he's the best, and he certainly was.
Oh, yeah. And next one is Down Twisted. Now, have you seen that movie?
I have.
Yeah.
This is quite an unusual film. It's also directed by my friend Albert Poon. I forgot that he
Oh,
directed
yeah.
this one. I think I rented it on the basis that Albert had directed it, because this was not a film that got a cinema release in the UK. It
Mhm.
went straight to video.
Yep,
Uh,
it was home video release.
Starred a former Bond girl, Carrie Yole, who sort of, I think, not long after this went on to do Law and Order, but she was the Bond girl in Moonraker. Courtney Cox, of course, also did Masters of the Universe with Cannon around the same time. So I can't remember a great deal about it. It's a sort of like a drama involving a group of robbers, if I remember rightly. I only saw it like, the time I rented it, and that was it. It was never a film that I went, oh, I must have that in my collection.
Yeah, I did not get to see this one, but I thought it was interesting. Let me read a little bit about what I
And I
collected
didn't.
about it.
This is one of the films I didn't speak to Albert about, actually, when we had our long chat about his career. So I
Yeah,
can't.
and that's why I kinda grabbed this one because I thought, well, maybe, this might have been one that you guys talked about, but there's still plenty more. Let's see,
Yeah.
Down Twisted, 1987 thriller directed by Arlo Bune, starring Carrie Lowell, Charles Rocket. I kinda had, like, a little crush on Charles Rocket. Courtney Cox, who I also had a crush on.
Ah,
Brett Weiser, Linda Carriage, Trudy Docherman and Nicholas Guest, who we all know very famously part of the Monty Python group of actors and also married to Jamie Lee Curtis. The film was given a limited
no,
theatrical
that's
release.
that's Christopher Guest you're
Oh,
thinking
Christopher,
of.
I thought this was
Yeah,
the
no,
same one. This is a
Nicholas
different
Guest
Nicholas.
is
I
a
totally
different.
have. Sorry, guys. Ignore everything I just said.
Yeah,
The
and
film was given
he's not connected to Monty Python, and
not the same guy
no,
I
and
was
Christopher
thinking
Guest
about.
was inspired by Monty Python, but he was never part of the group.
No, but he was, um, like, sort of connected, like, sorta loosely connected to them.
He when he'd done Spinal Tap, he got to meet them all,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
yeah, and told them that they heavily influenced his work.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for most people, that's all they for especially, I mean, most people for me, that's the only thing I've really known him from, is
Yeah,
from Spinal Tap.
William Blake's just corrected me. Sorry, it was License to Kill that she was in, not Moonraker. I'm thinking of a different lady.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The film was given a limited theatrical release in March, but then the home video release was in the United States in 1990 by Media Home Entertainment. So they must have pulled it off the theatrical run early, and just put it put it in a vault somewhere. Um,
I don't think we got this on video until probably like 91, even. Might have been towards the end of 1990, but certainly wasn't in the 80s.
okay.
Sat around for a bit, that one, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's 3 years of it, like, being out of the market, that's kind of wild. That's why I would think we're, like, super spoiled right now because when a movie gets pulled early, we just get it immediately on some streaming platform, or, we can get the physical copy. It was Lois Chiles who played Dr. Holly Goodhead on
Yeah.
Moonraker. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, uh, and Moonbeam 87 says David Paul died in 2020. The cause, yes, yes, we said that earlier. All right, and so
Did you like this movie? Down
which one?
Twisted? Did you like
I
Down
I
Twisted?
I've never seen it. I was
Oh, okay.
fascinated with it, and I would like the reason one of the reasons why I pulled it was because of Albert being involved. Hoping that you may have talked to him
Yeah,
about it.
sadly not.
Um, and but there's yeah, there's others. So we've got Street Smart. Now this is a shining kind of beacon in the pantheon of films with Canon,
Mm.
because it was critically acclaimed. Did you see it?
I did. This did get a cinema release in the UK. It was confined to the West End. I can't remember if I saw it at the cinema or on video, but I know it was part of Reeves' deal with Superman that basically, he would do Superman 4 if he got to essentially have heavy input on the story, and then he wanted to have I think there were 3 films in the deal, if I remember rightly, and he wanted to do small intellectual roles, in smaller films
Mhm.
as part of deal. And he played a reporter in this one who's, I think, reporting on crime, drug, spread of drugs and this kind of thing, and gets entangled in some nasty
Yeah.
business. It's quite a good movie. It's not a bad film by any chance. The imagination. It's definitely one of Cannon's better efforts.
Yeah, from what I heard of the script, which just really has me interested in actually seeing it one of these days, is that these two characters are really neither one are our typical protagonists. They're pretty scuzzy human beings, and it's kind of interesting. They say to see how it all plays out between them. I really am looking forward to trying to see this. Let me just go down the information. Street Smart
It's
1987. Oh, go
it's got
ahead.
Mimi Rogers in it as well before she kind of
Oh,
became a bit
wonderful.
bigger. I think because I can't remember the movie she was in. Was it one Someone to Watch Over Me? Was that her?
I never. I
Actually, let
don't.
me have a quick check. But yeah,
Yeah, I
she
don't.
was kind of on the rise at the time.
Okay, maybe that was about the time when she was married to Tom Cruise, because they were
Yeah,
married at one
right.
point.
Yeah, and that was it. Yeah, I think it was.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right, so Street Smart 1987, directed by Jerry Schatzberg and starring Christopher Reeve, Morgan Freeman, and Kathy Baker. It was shot in New York City and Montreal, Quebec. Despite being well received by audiences and critics, the film was a commercial failure. Morgan Freeman's first Oscar-nominated performance. That's about one of the highest um, honors that you can have as an actor, and definitely says a lot about the film to be nominated, being that it is again a canon film. You wouldn't think this is completely out of their realm, as far as that kind of critical acclaim. So I'm definitely excited about like taking a look at this possibly one day.
the the
Um,
the director of this movie, he directed Panic in Needle Park, which was one of Al Pacino's first films.
oh, really?
Yeah, but Jerry Schatzberg didn't do that many movies.
Hmm.
He's only got 14 um, directing credits, and I think I've seen two or three of his other work. He did Scarecrow as well, which I think Gene Hackman was in, if I remember rightly. And Honeysuckle Rose is the other film of his I've seen. So he was a sort of a more cerebral director. He wasn't a hack. I don't know why he didn't do more work, but I'm sure he got burnt out like a lot of people do in this industry, because I know all about that.
Okay, yeah. It sounds, yeah, it sounds about right. And fortunately, also, I can see why, especially if they're working with so many different like small um, companies, or it can get to be a little wild when you're trying to make a movie,
Yeah.
especially in this era. I think there were a lot of underhanded, strange activities going on that was that would
Uh,
have prevented creative people from doing their jobs.
well, that's still going on now. Trust me.
I'm sure. I'm sure. I'm sure. And you have stories to tell. American Ninja 2, the confrontation that was done in 1987. Any thoughts on this movie?
Yeah, that went straight to video in the UK. In fact, by then I think I was working at a video store part time. Oh, Danny Staten doesn't like Street Smart. Um,
Okay.
American Ninja 2 was, I mean, the first American Ninja film wasn't brilliant. I always thought the funny thing about the film was that the ninjas were quite average.
Oh,
Um,
I'm sure.
so the confrontation kind of had a sort of semi decent story. And of course, Steve James is always good value. I found Michael Dudikoff a very watchable actor. He extremely limited, but you know, he looked good on screen.
Yeah.
It's a
Well,
shame that he always got to play these quite bland characters, because if you watch him in Tom Hanks's effectively big movie debut, Bachelor Party, he's one of the
love
supporting
that movie.
cast in it, and he's got a very funny part, and he's got quite a good timing with his comedy lines in that film. So that's the first film I saw him in. He also had a tiny skip and you'll miss him role in Uncommon Valor as well with Gene Hackman.
Yeah, and it's really sad because he talks about this in the Electric Boogaloo documentary about how he asked for more opportunities. Because I think he thought of American Ninja, the first one, as a big opportunity for himself.
Mm,
And really, I mean, if you look at that movie and his performance, he's really doing a lot and try to do like as
yeah,
much of the physical part as possible. But I think after a while waiting for his chance, he just didn't get the kind of attention that he wanted from the Golan Globus people.
he was probably 6th down on their list, and I also suspect he got edged out a bit by Jean-Claude Van Damme, who came in around this time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So just to get the stats on this, directed by Sam Furstenberg, a sequel to The American Ninja 1985. It stars Michael Dudikoff, Steve James, who I think he's amazing, and I love seeing him in like any movie he's in. Jeff Weston, Gary Conway, Michelle Boats, and Larry Poindexter. The box office was only able to garner 4 million, but there's no no details on the budget, and that should tell you everything there. Uh, uh, and the title too, it's like American Ninja 2, the confrontation. And
Yeah.
just you just get the idea that they were just like, let's make a movie.
Yeah.
When Mrs. Freeman makes a point of not talking about the electric company, but I thought it was excellent work. Oh yeah, it was great when he was working on that. He just is great in whatever he does. Um, and Danny Staten says, "Well, it was better than Three Ninjas, but not by much." And John Walker says the soundtrack in American Ninja 2 is pretty good. Um, well, I have to listen to that then. Um, and oh, the Iron Spider Kid is here and says he was in Jason Lives. Oh, really? He was? Um, so good to see you. Okay, let's see. All right. All right, so the next movie on the list, I'm just going to keep going down here, is Superman for the Quest for Peace, 1987. Wow. Uh, any thoughts on that? Everybody chime in. This is, let's
I
go for
I
it.
I went I went on a date when I was with my very first girlfriend. We went to see that, and we were actually both quite excited because we were both big Superman movie fans. And there'd been a lot of publicity about how this was going to be they were spending a lot of money on it and yada yada yada. But of course, we didn't know by then the company was in dire straits. And actually, this was one of the first. Well, it wasn't the first film, but it was the film that got the biggest cut to its budget, because the budget was all the special effects budget just got completely slashed, because they'd done
Hmm.
principal photography, but then as they were going into post production, they pulled all the money for the special effects, which is why the special effects look so terrible. And some of the special effects were even reused shots from the
Hmm.
previous films, but they don't do the templates properly, so
Yeah,
they haven't taken out the black lines behind the images, and they've just done them as quick and as cheaply
yeah,
as possible. And I just also found things like, they're having a big fight on the moon with some of the human characters up there, and I'm like, well, how are the human characters surviving? We haven't even show Nuclear Man blowing a big air bubble that surrounds the moon, or something, a line just saying, hey, I'm breathing, I'm doing something so you can all breathe. There was just stuff like that just wasn't, it just was, I found it a very silly, and the basic plot was fine, but it just, the execution of the film was terrible.
Yeah, it's really sad. For me, of course, I just loved it anyway. I don't care.
There's
It
some
just
there's some there's some nice stuff in it, and
yeah, yeah.
Jim Hackman is always good value. But yeah, it's just
It's a tough one. It's a tough one.
could have been a lot better. It could have been a great movie. That's the annoying thing.
And William Blake says, all I can say about Superman 4 is that I unconditionally crush on Mariel Hemingway. Yeah, she was wonderful. And Moonbeam says, Quest for Peace, I remember rated K for kids, by kids, covering Superman 4. Oh, interesting. And John Walker, the speech at the UN in the film is my favorite part. Superman 4. Cool. And Janny Satan says it's better than the one with the Richard Pryor. Danny,
Well, that's
oh man.
yeah.
Well, I did enjoy the movie. I I just loved anything to do with Superman at the time, and Christopher Reeve was indeed amazing to me. Just gonna go through the stats. Superman for this Quest for Peace, 1987, directed by Sidney J. Furie. The film stars Reeve, um, Gene Hackman, Jackie Cooper, Mark McClure, John Cryer. John Cryer is in this.
Oh God, from Pretty in Pink.
Yes, he's, like, doing, like, some sort of mohawk thing. Sam Wanamaker,
Oh yeah, yeah.
Jim Broadbent, Mariel Hemingway, and Margot Kidder. It is the first film in the series not to have the involvement of the producers Alexander and Ilya Salkind. The film also marks the final appearance of Reeve as Superman, who agreed to return in exchange for a large salary and a story promoting nuclear disarmament. And I believe that Street Smart was also a part of that deal. I believe that and from what I heard, was that the budget was originally 35 million, and on set, or they discovered that the budget became 17 million. So that's pretty nasty, to be honest. But they just have a small recoup at the box office, but wasn't as successful as it should have been. Um, and I do have a picture, one of the iconic moments of Superman on the moon with what Nuclear Man?
I think he was an ex-Chippendale, if I remember rightly.
Yes, yes, yes. I love that character.
Makes me
Um,
wonder how and who discovered him, and under what circumstances. Was one of the canon secretaries down at the Chippendale show, or
I know the perfect guy.
yeah,
Yeah, that would be a really interesting story. Um,
sure
but
would.
I did love I did love this movie for the cheeky reasons. I don't care about the special effects and all that. It was seeing Christopher Reeve one more time, and just a silly story with with Superman in it. I was okay with it.
Mm.
'Cause sometimes I mean, for me, sometimes when I read comic books, I'm like, some of the storylines are so wacky, and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, this feels like a comic book." But it could have been a lot better with the right special effects. It was a little bit more care to the story, a little bit more acting on for some more people, on their part. And Moonbeam 87 says, "Well, Superman 3 will grow on you. I understand it more in my adulthood. John Cryer plays Lenny Luthor, and yes, he was Ducky in Pretty in Pink. Yes, thank you
Yeah.
for that information." And let's see.
I always quite liked him as an actor, John
Me
Cryer.
too. Yeah, I
Yeah.
still do. Um, and here it is. Oh, one of my favorite movies,
Ah,
Masters of the Universe,
do you need me to step
1987.
out while you get excited? Shall I leave you alone for a bit?
No, no. Well, I was a big fan of the cartoon when it came out, and it has a special place in my heart because of that.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
I didn't hate this film. I found it quite enjoyable. It did get a big cinema release in the UK. I was working at the cinema when it came
okay,
out. And we had it on for at least, I want to say 2 or 3 weeks.
okay,
Um, and I had a massive crush on Chelsea
of
Field
course. Oh,
at the time. Yeah.
Chelsea Field?
Yeah, I had a big crush on Chelsea Field.
Oh, wow. Well,
Yeah.
she's gorgeous in
I mean,
so so much.
don't get me wrong, I love Meg Foster's eyes, but,
Yeah.
Chelsea Field just looked like a
Mark
I
Mark
was
D
very
with a
into
C.
to brunettes at the time, and, she was it for me.
Oh, she's gorgeous.
Um,
Mark C with a D says, oh, sorry, Mark D with a C says, "I really like this movie. Please don't tell anyone."
yeah, the music for the film was I mean, I could talk about a lot of things about the film that were good, and the music was pretty good. I liked the costumes of most of the characters, um, but, some of the casting was a little off, and, of course, Skeletor's, cheap Halloween mask, was they could have spent more money on because Frank Langella is a fantastic actor.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
You
yeah.
should read his biography, by the way. It's available on Amazon. I've got it. It's brilliant. It's just you'll laugh and you'll cry in equal measure, and it's about all the different people he's met in the industry who are no longer with us.
Oh, no.
So he's not sort of saying
Oh, I'm gonna
anything
be
nasty about
crying.
anyone. But, yeah,
That's sweet.
it's a good book, really good book.
Mhm.
Billy
Oh, yeah.
Bart yeah, of course, Billy Barty was in this as well, wasn't he? That's right.
Yeah, John Walker says Chelsea Field was as Tila was perfect casting. I think they did get it right. I think they did get it right.
Yeah, I
She could
think the
have a
guy who played Master at Arms, I didn't think
You didn't
was
like him at all?
no, it wasn't I didn't like him. He looked because Master at Arms is supposed to be like an older sergeant major
Yeah,
type character with a tash, but I don't know whether it was his dialogue was underwritten or whatever. He didn't seem to make a mark in the film to me, and I
the
felt his
dialogue and, like, the
yeah,
script is the script. I mean,
I didn't feel the script served him very well.
that is a big problem with this movie.
Duncan McNeil, of course. Now he went on to be in Voyager, didn't he? Star Trek Voyager.
I
I think
didn't
was it Voyager?
I
Um,
don't know.
well, anyway, he was in one of the Star Trek franchises. He's also in a fantastic film about an American Civil War prison camp called Andersonville, which is a fantastic film for anyone who hasn't seen it. I actually bought that in the States when I was out there because you can't get it over here. Um, so yeah, there was, and I quite liked they had that funny kind of I don't know what you would call it. It was that strange musical staff that wasn't that the key to opening up the time travel portal? And at one point,
Yeah,
Courtney
the
Cox
key, the cosmic key.
was it called the Cosmic Key? Right, I haven't watched the movie in a long time, but there were things like that in it that were quite cool. I thought the tone of the film was fine. The fight scenes were quite well directed. I always popped in the screen to see the last battle when I was working at the cinema. I'd nip in and watch the last punch up every night again. Yeah, it was, and because there's a cop guy. It's the same guy who's in Back to the Future who plays the teacher. No McFly is ever going to amount to anything in this town.
Oh,
That
yeah.
guy's the cop with the shotgun, and he ends up,
Yeah.
doesn't he, with a pump action shotgun in that battle. I always
He was
remember.
fantastic. Is this John Cypher?
Yeah, and he's
Yeah, he's the best part of the movie. I like everything he says is just his spirit, the energy he's putting. He's acting like this is his, like he's the main character almost in
But
in the movie.
I think tonally he understood that, yeah, this is a film where I can just go completely over the top and no one's
Mhm.
gonna mind.
Yeah, and it
And
needed it. It needed that.
oh, yeah, I know,
It
I
really
agree.
did. Yeah,
It
and
absolutely did.
we got Darth Plato visiting us today. Hello,
Hey.
says hey, gang, and great to see you in here. Um, just yeah. Also, let's see. Somebody else said something else about Tila. Uh, Moonbeam is it? Oh, you're quoting the movie. Yeah, there's some interesting quotes in the movie, for sure. Yeah, definitely. And oh look, Costello is here. Says the reptile bounty hunter was good. King Hiss and Hordak should have been would have been good main villains in the story. Yes, and
Mm.
Courtney Cox was very young. My
Yeah, this is
favorite.
before she did Friends. This was right before.
Yep, she before she did Friends, and yeah, she was so cute in this.
Yeah.
She was so adorable. Of course, it was from her. I hadn't seen anything with her in it before until her dancing in the dark video with Bruce Springsteen. Um, and so, one of my favorite characters in this book, there's a couple of my favorite. Of course, Frank Langella is just doing the most. Between him and John Cipher, they're just doing everything they can to make this movie happen. And then there is one of my favorite characters in the film is Blade. Just love the design of the costume and everything, and I ended up using that costume for the villain in a movie we're going to talk about, Cyborg, which I thought was very interesting.
Right.
Um, and his he just the actor who plays, I forgot his name.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm just looking him up actually.
he was also in Sword and the Sorcerer, and he was so good. In playing Blade. He only had a few lines, he had only a few moments on screen, but it was
Yeah, no, I remember
really.
him. He did stand out. I mean,
Yeah.
again, the costumes were, the costumes were very comic book. Oh, my friend, Anthony DeLongis, who was that's Anthony DeLongis who played Blade.
Mhm.
There's an interview with him on my channel.
Oh, wow.
So when you said he was in Sword and the Sorcerer, I thought I've got to look that up. Yeah, of course he played Rodrigo in Sword and the Sorcerer, and
Mhm,
he
yes.
looks really young in Sword and the Sorcerer. But he surprised me and said, "No, I was 29 when I did that
Oh, wow.
movie." And yeah, I was like, "Oh wow."
Yeah, he's great.
He runs a stunt ranch.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just outside Los Angeles. We talked about it. He was one of the early interviews on the channel. He's probably interviewed like 7 or 8 if you guys want to check it out. He came on and talked to us for about 2 hours. We talked about Sword and the Sorcerer. I think we also talked about Masters of the Universe, but it's 25 or so interviews ago. So just excuse me for a sec real quick. I've got to just
Oh, sure.
shut off
I
the
just
heat.
wanted to correct something while you're doing that. Moonbeam, thank you with the information. Moonbeam is saying that James Tolkien played Lubick, who is the cop, and John Cipher was the one who played Man at Arms, and that's who I'm talking about, James Tolkien, who I think he really spiced up that character quite a bit because he was so much fun. Um, and Darth Plato says, I hear that DC Comics killed off this version of He-Man in Masters of the Universe comics. Oh.
So to sort of retroactively get rid of him, was that?
Yeah, well, I guess
So,
so. This makes no sense, but okay. I mean, it's too late to do anything with this part of the storyline anyway. But yeah, I can't tell you how much I love this film. So let's move on to the next one. I happen to have seen this, Beauty and the Beast, 1987. Have you seen this movie?
I have to say that although I was a massive, massive fan of Rebecca De Mornay, back at
Was
that
that an
time,
accident?
that was a complete faux pas. Sorry. I was a huge fan of her. I did not see this. I do remember the poster for this in the book, and it was an entirely a different poster from this. I have a vague
Danny
recollection of there was a big staircase. It was a similar poster, but it was a nicer poster than this. But no, I haven't seen it, and I dare say that Rebecca De Mornay probably doesn't look back on it as her proudest moment. But huh.
Yeah, there is a I love okay, so I guess this plays into something I absolutely adore, which is anything to do with Beauty and the Beast storyline. And there are hundreds of them. Well, maybe not exactly hundreds, but there's a good handful of movies of just Beauty and the Beast, and I love the different interpretations of that tale. And so this wasn't a terrible one because there is one scene in here that I thought was really creative, but I can understand people not liking it at all. Okay, let's see. People have a lot to say. Let's see what people are saying. There's a lot going on in the chat. Let's see. And Casella says, I prefer Linda Hamilton as Beauty and Ron Perlman as the Beast.
Yeah, that was a good pairing, actually.
And I actually, it's really interesting, but I never really liked that show. Um, uh,
I didn't get into the show, but I liked them in the roles. They were
yeah,
good casting, but
I did like their dynamic and their chemistry.
yeah,
Big fan, of course, of both of them, but I didn't like the show very much. I
no.
don't know what it was about it. The setting and everything. I really like this like Victorian age kind of or like Renaissance age of so it's kind of weird to put them in the modern day. Um Emily says, I believe I saw the 1987 version of Beauty and the Beast. Yeah, it's not the best one, but it's definitely interesting. But Danny Staten says, no way. He
So
says that his wife made him go to the theater to see it.
we've tracked down one of the 11 people who saw that film worldwide. Because I tell you now, I don't even, I worked at a video shop, and I don't even remember this being put out at the video store, or if it was released. The video chain that I was working for didn't buy it.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just gonna read the stats for it really quickly. Beauty and the Beast, 1987, American Israeli musical film, part of the Canon movie Tales. And the Canon movie Tales are a grouping of tales that are sort of like they're the Grimm tales, they're like Cinderella and all that that they've decided to make live action stories about. The film was shot entirely in Israel, starring John Savage and Rebecca De Mornay. There's no box office theater information because it was probably it wasn't very good. It wasn't very good. um, and Danny says the TV show turned girls off because he lived in the sewer. I don't know if that turned me off about that, but um, I don't know, it just didn't make to me, I guess I like the classical telling of that story, and so to have, like, um a long version of that story, like, ongoing is kind of weird 'cause, also we kinda know what happens, so the whole point of, like, a TV show is not knowing what's gonna happen a little bit. Um I don't know, it didn't work for me. I was into the characters, but I was like, "Why isn't this working for me?"
Yeah, I found the modern setting didn't work, but I did like the
No.
actors.
Yeah, and I have seen other modern settings, for Beauty and the Beast, and they too don't feel I love the pomp and grandeur of the tale being set in another time. I wonder if someone will ever do one for the future, like in the future world. That might be interesting. um, And let's see, because Casella says Demonia was great in the Three Musketeers. Okay.
Yeah,
Let's
she was
see.
good in that movie. I think that movie's underrated, actually. I
Um,
quite like that film.
okay. Um,
Hand That Rocks the Cradle, of course.
and Moonbeam says maybe hundreds of versions, including the TV show starring Ron Perlman or Linda Ham. The reason RNG probably doesn't like the TV here might be because it was 80s Manhattan. That should have sold me because I lived in Manhattan in the 80s. They were in my town. So I don't know. It wasn't. I don't know. It didn't do it for me. Um, but I did love the coupling. I thought their relationship and their the attraction for each other was really good. But you know what? I'll say this. It's been a while. So maybe if I revisited it, it might hit me differently. So you never know. Now the next one, Barfly guys. Has anyone seen this one? 1987, directed by Barbette Schroeder and starring Mickey Rourke and Faye Dunaway.
Yeah, so I saw this. I was also working at the video shop when it came out,
Mhm.
and this was one of Canon's sort of handful of films where they were trying to raise their profile, cast big or up and coming actors. Faye Dunaway at this time was already heavily established. Mickey Rourke was like, he was kind of on a similar track as Tom Cruise at the time, I would say. He'd done a couple of big movies, and everybody was sort of, his name was being connected to literally dozens of projects.
Mm.
And but the problem is that the film is basically about two alcoholics in a
Yes.
bar,
Mhm.
based on somebody who went through that experience. It's really the sort of story that's going to sit a lot better on a stage. And it was, I don't know how the Presented by Francis Ford Coppola came to be. Maybe that was because they used his edit suite or something. But I mean, the performances are good, but it's a miserable film that you never want to watch again, and you feel miserable when you're watching it. So, and I don't mind seeing films about really difficult topics, things like "And the Band Played On" and stuff of that nature. But I like serious drama. It's the sort of stuff a lot of the stuff I write is in that milieu. But this for me was just miserable. Everything about it was miserable. The two of them are good in it. Their performances
Mhm.
are good, but
Yeah.
and they gave it a wide release because at this time they controlled 40% of the cinema network in the UK. They gave it a wide release and no one went to see it because there was no way of camouflaging it with clever marketing what it was. You
Mhm.
can dress it up as an action film or a comedy film or even a romance. And the term barfly, people don't know what that means in the UK, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure people know what it means in America. But yeah,
Eh,
it died on its arse in the UK.
yeah. It was definitely get a lot of people gave it some really high scores for the drama, the storyline, um, acting, but it really didn't get um it didn't get much further than that. It was they were like, "Oh, it's a depressing movie? We're out of here." Yeah, it's really quite interesting, but I suppose that if you were looking for something with a little bit more of a bite to it, and you wanted to, you wanted to cry a little bit, you wanted to feel strange emotions, or just visit such a story, it would be something that this is something that you might want to see. But if you're looking for a good time, this is totally outside of canon films as far as what we're used to seeing from them. So I thought that was interesting. Um,
Yeah, I know I've seen other films by Barbette Schroeder. I'm curious to have a quick look to see what else they did.
sure.
Um, But I mean, please feel free to move on. Still alive, incidentally. Yeah, so he directed Single White Female, which is not a
Oh,
bad
yeah.
movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he's done sort of more recently things like episodes of Mad Men and that kind of thing. He did Reversal of Fortune a couple of years after this, which was a film that was on at the cinema when I was working there. And
You mean with Jeremy Irons?
yeah, that's right. That's
And Glenn Close?
that's a good movie. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
that's amazing.
he also did Desperate Measures with Michael Keaton, Andy Garcia, and Brian Cox, which is a film that a lot of people won't remember, which came out in '98. It's not a bad film by any means at all.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's a good, solid director who's done some good films. He never quite had that one big, massive hit. I think Single White Female was probably the one that got him the most attention. And that was his third movie. But Reversal of Fortune is a really good, solid film,
Insanely good.
and it's been staged as a play, I believe, as well, since the movie came out. But it may have already been a play. It had Ron Silver in it as well, who was a great actor who sadly passed away in 2009.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So now we get more.
Oh, did they didn't make Hannah and her sisters canon?
No. They it was just
Acquired it.
distributed from the company.
Right.
Like they did other things with movies and
Yeah.
that were just like distribution and stuff like that for
Sure.
video.
Yeah, raw deal.
Like they didn't do Buckaroo Banzai, but they distributed it.
I used to have a bandana with the Buckaroo Banzai logo on it.
Oh yeah?
And that was part of the marketing when it was released on video, and I was working at a video store at the time, and I used to get sent a lot of things like that, and I held on to that bandana for years. Eventually I think it fell apart or whatever, but it's a shame I haven't got a picture of me wearing it.
Well, I have a little bit of history that is connected with this time period. In 1988, the financial loss was staggering and faced the company faced bankruptcy. The U.S. Securities Exchange Commission began an investigation into Canon's financial reports, suspecting that Canon had fraudulently misstated them. As a way out of trouble, Canon Films was taken over by Path Communications.
That's pronounced Pathé. Pathé Communications.
Pathé Communications, a holding company controlled by Italian financier Giancarlo Peretti. The takeover immediately began a corporate restructuring and financing of $250 million to pay off Canon's debt.
I mean, Giancarlo Peretti, if you remember the movie Wall Street and you think of Michael Douglas's character in that, who goes in and buys a company, takes it over, sells off assets. That's basically what this guy was like. And I mean, after he came in, Canon was no longer Canon. And actually, I left the London office and went back to work at the cinema right around the time that this was happening, because we all got told we were all going to be fired.
What?
Yeah, because that they were, everything was changing, so there was not going to be
they just flat out told you guys that?
The booking team was going to be massively reduced, and everybody was basically told, look, start looking for other jobs.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I think we were even told that before this guy came in. I can't even remember the year that I was there in that unit, whether it was 88 or 89, or I can't remember now. But I think actually I might have even been there in 89. But I just can't remember, because I'm working in the cinema in 88, because that's in my diary that I've just published as that book. So, but yeah, that it was, and there was a lot of talk of the company was still going to survive in different sort of incarnations of what it had been, but yeah, that didn't happen, and the changes happened from sort of 89 onwards. The changes happened pretty quickly, and I think they sold their cinema chain to MGM in, I want to say, at the end of 89 going into 90, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we haven't gotten there yet.
No, sorry, let me not
Yeah.
jump ahead.
Yeah, we're gonna get there, but yes, this was definitely the beginning of the end. Happened a while back, but this is when it was really pretty obvious things were starting to look bad for the company, and especially with this takeover. Yeah, just like you said, they told you guys that. Um,
Well,
uh,
there was about like 20 films in production
mhm.
at the time that this guy came in, and all of them had their budgets cut by at least 50%.
Ooh, ugly.
And so quite a lot of them were not able to even be finished. That's why when you look at that movie, we talked about it. I think it's one of the ones you like, and it's one that Albert directed, about the girl who goes down under the earth and meets the characters.
Oh yeah, we haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was one of the ones that got cut in half by this guy.
yeah, yeah. We'll get to that. Yeah, it's ugly, guys. Yeah, this stuff is ugly. But this was one of the biggest trans. This is the biggest event that really
Yeah.
started a downfall to eventually 1994, and so yeah, yeah, we're about to cover that movie, and we got Missing in Action 3, 1988, um, which was I don't know if anybody has seen this one. This is one of the ones that um, if you ask people like, have you seen this one? Most people haven't.
I've
Um,
seen it.
you have?
I've seen it, and not only have I seen it, I owned it for quite a while.
Oh
Yeah,
no, yeah.
yeah.
Do you don't have it anymore?
No, I had it on VHS, and it when my VHS collection, got tanked, it kind of went along with a whole load of other stuff that I don't have now. But I had all
Hmm.
three Missing in Action films at one point. Um,
Okay.
yeah, I remember this one's just called Braddock, isn't it? And they're taking out a group of like war orphans, or saving a group of war orphan kids, if I remember rightly. It's actually not a, I mean, it's a Missing in Action film, but it's not like horrendous film. It's okay.
Okay, William Blake Hall says that he saw it. Chuck Norris sort of doing Rambo. Could have been called Rambrock.
Yeah.
And
Well, he was sort of doing that in all of the films, I think,
and
wasn't
all of them
he?
Missing in Action. But and he found like a nice little sweet spot there for a while, and I think this was like the beginning of I think this one was his last one for this series, I believe. Brad 1988 stars Chuck Norris, who co-wrote the screenplay with James Brunner. The film was directed by Norris's brother, Aaron
Aaron.
Norris.
And Aaron is the brother who directed. Remember, we talked about that film that no one remembers that Canon definitely distributed, even if they didn't make it, which was the Arctic Heat.
Arctic Heat.
Yeah.
Oh, did I? Yeah, I think I put this on the list. So we are going to talk about Arctic Heat,
Cool.
I think.
Yeah, good film.
And yeah, obviously they didn't make enough at the box office to even cover the budget. So yeah, it was poorly received, unfortunately. And them's the breaks. Let's see what you guys have to
Keith
say.
David is in Missing in Action 3, though, which is
Oh,
interesting.
really?
Yeah,
Oh, I
from
love
They
that.
Live.
I love that actor. And Costello says Missing in Action 3 has the scene with the kid in the line of fire to be shot if Chuck fell down. Um, Not sure if I remember that scene at all. And William Blake also says, I recall Braddock for the CIA guy who was the loudest possible liar, the lousiest possible liar. um, all right. And Casella says, I have all the Missing in Action films. Oh, cool. Um, and let's see what's next. We've got a still from Missing in Action 3. And Gore, 1987. And this is a guilty pleasure of mine, guys. I do love this crazy little movie. It's
Is
really
this
not the
not
best.
not to be confused with your?
Not to be confused with Your,
Yeah.
um, which is like I tried to watch Your. I was having trouble watching Your.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, because there's your. Um, I think the full title is "You're the Hunter from the Future." From
Future, yeah. Mhm.
um,
Uh,
Gore, I've not seen. I don't
oh,
think.
really?
No, and I'm looking at Rebecca Ferrati's costume in it. I feel like I should have seen it. I remember it doing the rounds. That there was a video store that was near my video store. It's a bike ride away, and they always got the trashy films that my video store, the one that I worked at, didn't get. So I
Oh,
was always forced to kind of like, if I wanted to see Wizards of the Lost Kingdom, because they did actually, to their credit, they actually checked to see if the films were any good. They didn't just stock everything that came out. So I had to go to the other one to watch the trashy films, and I remember that they had it. They had it there, this movie, but I
yeah,
don't think I ever
yeah.
saw it.
I think I caught it on uh, I think I caught it on TV one night, and I was like, "What is this craziness?" And I just love the fact that it starts off with the main character as a teacher, and he's getting bullied, and he gets transferred to this strange world, and then he takes off his shirt and he's like fully like it's like full muscles everywhere. I'm like, wait a minute, you're the same guy. Well, he just had glasses on, and all of a sudden that's going to change your whole physiology. It was just so weird. But I love the idea of a character, sort of like the Mars guy. What's the movie about the guy going to Mars and then becoming a hero there?
Oh yeah, yeah, that was based on the big Disney flop, John Carter of
John
Mars.
Cart of Mars,
Yeah,
which is, I mean, it Disney took it, but actually it was is I think is was done before, and I think that movie's really good too.
yeah,
Um,
I quite liked John Carter of
yeah,
Mars actually. I
yeah.
one of the few people that
Yes.
quite liked it. Oliver Reed is in this,
Mhm.
and
Yes.
this is around the time that he was sort of
Was he
trying
sick?
to well, he was an alcoholic for a long time, so Hollywood wouldn't. He was no longer bankable with Hollywood. They couldn't get insurance for him, and like a lot of actors who are a little bit washed up, he turned to Italy. But it was around this time that he did about 4 or 5 movies in a row. One of which was the Sven Hessel book about the Germans fighting on the Russian front. Wheels of Terror was called,
Oh,
and
wow.
all of the actors that were in Wheels of Terror are all big name actors now. The young actors that played the guys in the tank were all relative unknowns. Arnold Vosloo was also in this movie, who of course was in The Mummy.
Mhm. Wow.
Um, so it's funny how, and Jack Palance, of course, again was somebody who wasn't working a lot at this time. And I think this was before he did City Slickers, which kind of resurrected
Oh,
his
yeah.
career again.
Yeah, definitely way before then, right? Oh, no, but maybe a year or 2. Um
Yeah, I haven't heard of Urbano Barberini.
Yeah, he was in this movie, and he was a big I think he was bigger in Italy, and,
He
he
actually
was
had a small
also
part in Casino Royale with Daniel Craig.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the
And,
bad guy.
he was in the sequel to Your as well,
Outlaw of Gore. Who knew there were
Mhm.
2 Gore films?
Mhm. And so, let me just read the stats really quick. Gore, 1987, loosely based on the 1966 novel Tarnsman of Gore, written by John Frederick Lang Jr. under his pen name John Norman. There was a sequel to the film Outlaw of Gore, which we just spoke about, starring Urbano Barberini Rebecca Ferrati and Jack Palance. Cannon Films had initially planned to release the film in September of 1987, but the theatrical release was canceled, so it went straight to video. And let's see. And Moonbeam mentions that Heavy Metal had a kid that turned into a muscle man voiced by John Candy. Absolutely. Love that storyline. Okay, then we have this movie, Going Bananas.
Oh my God, I just, funnily enough, just did a bit of research on this one. And you know the story about they had a meeting with Clyde from Every Which Way But Loose.
Yes. This is the best story, guys. I'm gonna see if I can find the link for the Electric Boogaloo.
So yeah, it's covered in the Electric Boogaloo
Oh man,
documentary. And I mean, only in Hollywood would you have a situation where you're a producer and a production manager, and you have a meeting with an actual ape with his agent and his accountant.
that could have been very dangerous for them to do that, but and not to mention, I mean, it's bordering on abuse when you have to like force an animal to sit in a room and listen to some guy
Yeah,
talk to it.
you
It's
know,
like, come on.
I mean, they actually put like a guy in a monkey suit in the end because
It was
they
too
did
unpredictable.
they did a screen test with the kid, and the ape was quite dangerous around the kid, so they thought, well, we can't do that. But they
Mhm.
actually went to Africa to shoot this movie, and you know they were filming scenes with the guy in the monkey suit when there were real monkeys in trees, like watching them. And I thought, who
Yeah.
are these idiots?
Yeah, like, what's going on?
Um, I mean, it just sounded like a terrible film. I've never seen it.
If you guys like, look, I've seen this before. If you guys see this film, it is just ridiculous, okay? If you wanna laugh until your sides hurt, this movie, it is, they even have at one point the monkey talks. It's really
Have you seen the whole movie?
yeah, I've seen it. It's really terrible.
Yeah, I
It's been
mean,
ages. It's been, but it's really bad,
I
really, really bad. But I
yeah.
I mean, I could for some reason I was able to have fun with it in my, of course, in my way, but it is it,
Only retro could have fun with this
well,
film,
it's funny.
such is
No,
her resilience.
it is that kind of so bad it's good. Literally, it's one of the one movies that you can say is that way. It's just completely like, it's off its rocker, it's off its rocker, and I don't know, what was going on, and let me read the information here,
Mm.
for you. I'm gonna blow it up on my end so I could see it better. Going Bananas, 1987, directed by Boaz Davison and written by Menahem Golan. And just the stories about what people were saying about Menahem during this time was just insane. He was coming up with ideas. Uh, it was just crazy pandemonium all the time. It must have been super, super stressful for all of those guys who had to work for him. The movie stars Dom DeLuise, Jimmy Walker, which everybody knows from Good Times, right? Don Mendenhall, Deep Roy, who played the in the was actually in the monkey suit. Deep Roy has done he's a legend. He's a legend. He's done almost every character that's that interesting creature that you've that's been in Hollywood.
I
Any
bet he
movie.
loves to talk about this film at parties.
Oh man. Well, it's gotta be crazy. Warren Berlinger, and Herbert Lom. Of course, the film did not do well at the box office or anywhere. I don't think it even made it to the box office.
I don't think it even got a UK
Yeah,
video
there's no.
release.
Yeah,
I
there when I was researching it, there was no record of any. of even box office numbers or anything.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even get a budget, which was weird. And
It didn't go on the
yeah.
monkey costume, I'll tell you that.
Oh man. Oh man. Oh man.
I've
Oh
seen
man.
Herbie Goes Bananas.
And Brogu says, "I can't stay quiet. Just looking at that poster for Going Bananas lets me know what's going on." That's going to fail. Yes, it's just too crazy. Just like, just be aware. Like when you do, it's gonna put a smile on your face for how crazy it is. And Unicorn Rampant Studio says, "Almost started singing the Good Times theme." Yes, for JJ. Uh, um and yeah, it's just really crazy all the things that Menahem did during these days in particular. And let me really quickly let me see if I can find that video because it is one of the most
Are you gonna show a clip?
no, I what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in
Oh,
the chat so that way people can
yeah.
copy so that they can see it for themselves. I don't want to get a
Yeah.
copyright issue.
That's what I was wondering. I was like, "Oh, no, don't be doing that."
Like,
Um, is there a short clip of it on YouTube somewhere? Perhaps. Yeah, I do remember that Deep Roy played the Oompa Loompas in the new Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
yes, yeah, he's done just about everything. He's just brilliant because he just he just gets in there and does his job. But he's been in pretty much everything.
Did you watch
Um,
the Patrick McGoohan series called The Prisoner? Have you seen that, Retro?
no, no.
Oh my god, you need to track that down because you're gonna love it. You're gonna absolutely love it. It's nuts crazy, but it's really good. Um, yeah, right up your street. But there's an actor in that who's the spitting image of Deep Roy, and people often think it's the same guy. And of
Oh,
course,
really?
yeah, this actor passed away many moons ago, but they do
Oh,
look incredibly similar. Yes, so here we are, Alien
yes.
from LA.
Alien from LA. 1988, directed by Alvin
Albert
Pune
Boone.
and starring Kathy Ireland, who was drop she still is absolutely drop dead gorgeous. Incredible woman there. And this story is about a woman visits the underground civilization of Atlantis, loosely based on Jules Verne's 1864 novel Journey to the Center of the Earth, with
Yeah.
some minor allusions to the Wizard of Oz. And yes,
So
it.
I had the original poster for this,
Mhm.
and I so wish I still had it because it was in this book of these are all the things we're going to make,
Oh
and,
wow.
and it was a great poster, really really good poster, and I'm a big fan of the original movie. I think the original movie had Pat Boone in it of all people, but it's a fun old movie with giant lizards and that sort of thing I lapped up as a kid. So I was really excited to see this film. And I have watched it not that long ago because I wanted to see it again as part of the prep for this stream. And I remember what Albert told me about it, which was that the budget was cut like right before they went into shooting. I think it was about a week before. It was cut in half.
Mhm.
So loads of it had to be rewritten. They had no post-production budget at all. So the way that they tried to make the thing look different was that they put these orange filters on the cameras
Oh wow.
for when they were filming the scenes sort of under the earth. So when you watch the film, everything has this really weird orange hue all the way through those scenes,
I didn't even notice that.
and it looks quite strange. I now I might be wrong about this, but I have a vague recollection that somebody dubbed Kathy Ireland's voice in the
It's
movie.
yeah.
And
my gosh, it's been years. I
I
need
can't
to see
remember
it again.
why, but I think she was dubbed, and I can't remember why. So yeah, but he hated the film. Um,
Costello says Ireland starts out as a geek and ends up great.
she basically starts out as someone who wears glasses and then takes her glasses off, and she's stunning. Retro can prove this trick right now if we wanna. No? Okay.
You
Guys, I
guys,
tried,
you're
chat, I
so
tried.
nice. That's a nice thing to say. Yeah, I think this was cool, and we're gonna later on we're gonna revisit this whole story here, because it's intertwined with the sequel as well. Um, so when we get there, we'll get there. And here's the Bloodsport, everybody, 1988. Directed by Newt Arnold and starring Jean-Claude Van Damme, Leah Aries, Forrest Whitaker is in this, uh, Donald Gibb, Roy Chow, and Bolo Young. And they made a profit off of this one, 100%. Um,
Yeah.
a huge went. They must have partied.
Well, I mean, at this point, they needed $5 million a week to stay solvent with not only all the productions, but the cinema chains and the various things that they owned.
Mhm.
So imagine running a company where you've got to make $5 million a week to stay solvent. So that would have kept them, if the budget was 3 mil or whatever, and it's probably 5 million in total with P&A. That kept you alive for another 9 weeks.
Yeah.
But you can't just have one of those. You've got
No,
to have a lot of them.
yeah, that was the only problem that you can't just have just one hit like this, and they kind of veered away from their formula, especially with this whole thing with Sylvester Stallone putting so much money in a lot of these films instead
Yeah.
of doing like what they did here, where they only look at how small that budget is. One
Yeah.
1.5 to 2.3, and then, the ones that where they made the biggest loss was they did, like, 17. They went higher than 10,000, and it just wasn't doing, it made it didn't work, for everyone.
And that
Um,
really was about Mackheim's ego, because he was trying to compete with the studios and say, "Look,
yeah,
I'm good enough to get Stallone. Look, I'm good enough to get these actors."
yeah,
But they just should have
exactly.
put the brakes on and said, "Okay, let's do 2 sets of films. These ones are gonna win awards, and these ones are gonna be all about action and adventure." And
Mhm, and let's keep the budget low right from the start,
yeah, and
and
just
don't lie to people and tell them they're gonna have $100,000 budget and then take it away from them.
I'd be quite happy with $100,000 budget right now.
Or, well, $100 million, or
Yeah, but
they were dealing their biggest one was, like, I think,
I think this was
20 or something
I
like
think
that.
this was Van Damme's first film with Canon. Is that right?
Uh,
Was it his first?
I think so, yeah, because they hadn't done, yeah, this is the first one. This is the
Yeah.
first one. Unicorn Rampant Studios has done a wonderful thing for us, guys. There's a link to, an episode from, Alien from LA with I forgot what they call these guys, some
MST3K.
yeah, I forgot the name of those. They're the guys who, make fun of everybody. I forgot all the movies. They'll sit down and make, fun of that. Sure somebody has, wrote down what that is in the chat. I forgot. It's on the tip of my tongue. Um, do you remember at all what the MST3K is?
No, I think I have been to that channel,
Oh,
but
okay, yes, 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 Mystery Science Theater, thank you.
that's it, Mystery Science Theater. Yeah, where you've
I
got the silhouettes of the guys sitting in the audience as they're
yes, 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 yes.
yeah, it's a lot of fun.
And yeah, they're, just absolutely hilarious, so it would be great, if anybody wants to see that movie in that format, and it's on YouTube, guys. Um, and, Bloodsport, Fight to Survive, Kumite, um, and, see. Oh, people are just mentioning different quotes from the movie. And Simply Steve says, I thought Bloodsport was 1986 and Kickboxer was 1988. Oh, maybe that's not well, maybe it got mixed up somewhere. I I'm not sure, but that's what the internet told me today. This
Um,
is the and yeah, I checked today, but maybe it did because some of these movies do get have different dates for them. So
mm,
and Moonbeam says that Bloodsport. I saw it with my dad and met Frank Dukes in a gym. Oh, really? And oh,
uh,
Danny, we've got Danny's approval. He likes Bloodsport.
make sure we come back and talk about Giancarlo Peretti, because there's a couple of things I want to say about him
Okay.
when there's an appropriate moment.
Oh, yes.
Let's get further in when the company goes
Yes,
right,
yes, yes,
and
because
I'll come back.
yes, we will. Just wanted to acknowledge, we got, yes, Simply Steve and Sean Ennis is in the chat. We've got, Opie Doc, Opie Del Doc. I'm not sure exactly if I said that correctly, but it says, one underrated canon film was a World War to a movie parody called Man Called Sarge. Oh, yeah, that was on the list. I did not pull it out. For that was one. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the poster for that,
Yeah.
and that was all shot in Italy, if I remember rightly, or might have been Australia, but let me do a bit of digging. Mark
Okay.
Singer from the Beastmaster was in it. That's right.
Oh, A Man Called Sarge.
Yeah. Gary Kroger was the lead, though. I think
Mhm.
Mark Singer was like the bad guy. And Barry Kroger's mainly known for being a comedian on Saturday Night Live. So obviously they were going for comedy. I don't think I've ever seen it, which for a World War II movie in me is almost unheard of. I think find a World War II movie that I haven't seen is. And I may well have seen it and just like instantly forgot about it, but yeah.
Okay. Well, the next movie on the list is in. It's almost like they had like
I
schizophrenia, not schizophrenia. They had like they were trying to do too many things because here's yet another style that wasn't part of their normal like style of movies. They were trying to be ambitious, I suppose, here. Um,
Well, the reason that they did this was because Peter Ustinov had already done, I think two or three movies playing this
mhm,
iconic character Hercule Poirot,
mhm,
and what they did was they snapped up the rights to do the next one, and I think Michael Winner actually did direct some of the ones before this, but of course he was a Canon director on contract anyway because he did Death Wish 3.
mhm,
And it's these films are by the numbers. It's a murder mystery with a load of big names in it. They're remaking them all at the moment with Kenneth Branagh, and I actually think those versions really they've got no soul at all.
mhm,
But it says here being a Canon film that hurt being a Canon film hurt the film's reputation. That's right.
mhm.
It's not the sort of film that Canon would have put out, and
Yeah,
I think that stopped some people from going to see it. But I seem to recall it was quite good. I think it was very much the
it
same as
got
the others.
some really great reviews, and
Yeah,
I think and I think in general, Michael Winner is a, a decent director. I think he's really good.
he can do
Um,
he can do some. He's done some good films and some terrible films. If you haven't seen Hannibal Brooks retro, you have to watch that.
what is
Or
it
as
called?
Hannibal Brooks.
And what year do you think it was?
That came out in I think it was around 68 or 71,
Oh,
something
really?
like
Okay.
that. And it's with Oliver Reed.
Ooh, okay.
And I tricked my ex-partner into watching it by saying, we're going to watch a film today and it's called Operation Elephant. And it's about them trying to save an elephant in World War II. I love it. I think it's a great movie.
Oh, that sounds sweet.
It's a lot of fun. It's
Okay.
really fun.
Well, you said Oliver Reed, and that that you say no more.
And it's got that young weird actor that was in. He passed away recently. Who had a voice and a face like a child. His name escapes me, but I'll tell you in a sec. And he's in it, and he's really funny in it.
Okay. Well, while you're doing that, I'm just going to read off a little bit of this. The title is Appointment with Death, 1988, produced and directed by Michael Winner. The adaptation of the 1938 Agatha Christie novel Appointment with Death. The film stars Peter Ustinov, Lauren Bacall, Carrie Fisher, John Gielgud, Piper Laurie, Haley Mills, Jenny Seagrove, and David Soul. And you guys know, maybe you don't know, I love myself some David Soul. So that is just crazy, okay? And the box office results were really terrible. And they had a budget of 6 million. So they had to.
David Soul lives about 2 miles that way
Oh,
from
really?
my place. Yeah, or
Wow.
he did. If assuming he's still living in England. It's not like I had lunch with him last week. But yeah, he moved to the UK quite some time ago, and the last big thing he did over here was Jerry Springer the musical, and he played Jerry Springer.
Yes, yes, Brogu, that is indeed Carrie Fisher on the poster.
And Jenny Seagrove was Michael Winner's either girlfriend or wife at the time they made this.
Who was his girlfriend?
Jenny Seagrove.
Oh, okay. And let's see, what else can you guys say? Okay, we're gonna move on. Say
And that film did get a cinema release.
it did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did. Because we've got box office results. Not very many, but
Okay, so the next film I can tell you an interesting story about.
yeah, this is where it connects with Alien from from LA.
There were 3 films that had a similar premise. The one we've just seen, which was originally supposed to be the Journey to the Center of the Earth movie.
Mm-hmm.
Then you had this one, which was kind of made of remnants of Journey to the Center of the Earth that they couldn't quite make work in the edit, and it used all the same sets. And then there was another script, a project that they were going to do that was never filmed, which was called The Primevals. And The Primevals was a great poster. It had an ape, a bit like one of the apes from Planet of the Apes, but with really razor-sharp teeth, kind of screaming like that. And above him, there was a huge circle that had given in with light passing through it, like it was like the rim of a volcano that had collapsed. And these 4 boys were falling through that gap. So what the poster said was 4 boys go on a journey yomping around the mountains and accidentally fall through a crevasse and end up in this world with these creatures. And that was one of the movies. When I saw that in the book, I was like, oh, I'm really looking forward to seeing that. That looks good. And that film was dropped from production. It was in prep when and elements of that film ended up in this one, including some of the cast.
Interesting.
And they were all kind of just thrown together. And again, this was filmed on the same sets as the Albert Poon one. And I mean, neither of the films were properly completed, so they were just kind of not. I won't say they were saved in the edit. They were, finished in the edit with what they could find and shoved out onto video. This one's really hard to get hold of as well.
Okay. And Looks like William Blake Hall is heading out. Thanks for joining us today, William. It's awesome to have you in the chat. You're awesome. And hopefully to see you. Oh, you say see you all for RNG's birthday. So I'll see you on my birthday. And let's see. Okay, so I think you covered a lot about this because Uh, I think the other thing is that it says that it has one director, but didn't Albert have to come in and let me see if this is the one. It was in a
Sorry, I
sequel.
was muted. I think the truth of it is that some scenes that Albert directed for one or other movie ended up in this film. I'm not sure that
Oh
he
yes,
actually.
yes, yes, because he was supposed to do his own version of the Journey to the Center of the Earth.
Well, he was supposed to direct the Journey to the Center of the Earth movie, and that was the one. I believe that was the one that was Kathy Island. This was supposed to be the Primevals, which
Okay.
which in the end they didn't really shoot, and ended up being. They called it a sequel, but it wasn't really a sequel. They just said, "Well, we haven't used the title Journey to the Center of the Earth, so let's call it that because it's the same thing." You know, people falling through a gap, and yeah, but it was, you know. Why would they have a character called Wanda Saskanusum as well? You know, why would you have a character in a movie where you can't pronounce their name? Just making it harder for your audience to engage.
Yeah. And it's part of the canon way.
This is the way.
This is the way. And Messenger of Death, 1988.
This was straight to video in the UK.
Yeah, yeah. Um, this, let me see if I'll just read it all out here. Messenger of Death, 1988, starring Charles Bronson, about an attempt by a water company to start a family feud to take the family's land. The movie marks the 8th collaboration between Bronson and director J. Lee Thompson. It did poorly, but it was praised for its storytelling.
Yeah, that wasn't a terrible film. I rented that on video. It was okay.
Yeah, anybody else see this one at all? Yeah, I did not get to see this one. It just hasn't gotten any kind of what do you call it? Any kind of airplay, and it doesn't have a cult following either that I know of. So, which is it really sad to see movies kind of go obscure like this. So that makes me want to see it just for the heck of it. Um, so then we have more. Okay. See. All right. The Secret of the Ice Cave, 1989. I actually saw this. Very interesting movie. Have you seen it?
No, but again, that sounds like they took some of the script elements from Primeval, or whatever it was called, the Primevals, and incorporated it into this movie. Because the image that I told you, it was like kids falling through ice, but it was a circular thing that they fell through.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I'm sure that like various bits of different projects all ended up getting meshed into different things. I always liked Sally Kellerman; thought she was good. Michael
Oh,
Moriarty was
yeah.
a good actor as well.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And she's great in this too, because she's like, the thing is, she's like very sexy in a way with her voice and everything, but she has also the way she uses her facial expressions and all that. Loved her in this, but the storyline was just all over the place, and the special effects were just insane, but and not in a good way, but it was definitely it was in a movie that I would wanna, like, revisit, but good enough to see at least once.
Did
Um,
you see this at the cinema?
no, no, I actually, just saw this on video.
Right.
I believe it was just like I think it was on Amazon, and it was like one of those movies like that was
Oh,
like on Amazon Prime at the time. I'm not sure if it's still there, but it was you could take a look at this movie, and I was like, okay, well, I got an hour to might as well check out a new movie, and yeah, it's okay. um, and the next one is Kickboxer, guys. Um, 1989, directed by David Worth and starring Jean-Claude Van Damme. Former world kickboxing champion Dennis Alexo is also featured. It spawned several sequels. Canon deliberately released it on the traditionally slow weekend after Labor Day, when no studio releases and thus limited competition. And so these guys did okay. The budget was only 2.7 million, and they came back with a whopping 50 million. What a big profit. So suddenly, Jean-Claude Van Damme just shoots right up to now their big time money maker.
yeah.
Um,
I remember seeing the trailer for this, and actually, it trailered at the cinema. I can't remember what with, but it would have been a Canon film, and it was probably trailering in the cinema I was working in. And it was a really unusual trailer in the sense that you the logo came up, you heard this thud, this somebody hitting something. It cut to a shot of Van Damme entering a room, and you heard this noise constantly, and he walked into a room, and the bad guy who's on the left in the poster is kicking this concrete pillar
ooh,
and sort of chipping bits off of it, and then he turns around and locks eyes with Van Damme. Boom, that's it, that's the trailer. But it was enough to make you go, oh, that seems like something I haven't seen before. Someone
yeah,
kickboxing concrete, and this looks a bit different from a Rocky movie. So
yeah,
I guess it kind of tapped into that psyche, but looked a bit different. I'm not surprised it did well. Yeah, kneeing a pillar. That's right. Yeah, simply Steve
yeah,
just said.
yeah. Oh man. And look at that poster, my gosh, these guys know how to make a poster. I mean, and it's just out of control. Look good looking. Makes you want to go see the movie for sure. But yeah, any other words on
Now, it did very
uh,
well on video as well.
as
Remember that
well? Yeah.
that was another big seller at our
Oh
big renter
yeah.
at our video store. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. That matters for these to get residuals and stuff. Brogu says, "Yay! It's another Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. He was like Chuck Norris for Canon, a golden goose." Yeah, that this was if this didn't pan out to make a lot of money, he would have just went the way of like a Dudikoff. You know, they may have made another movie with him, but it would not have been. Um, they would have slowly been putting the quality aside, but for some reason, um, uh, Jean-Claude Van Damme his movies were doing good. In fact, I heard that he was also involved with the editing of a lot of his movies to help punch it up a little bit, which I did not know that he was working in the with the editors to make these movies a little bit better.
That may well be true. I can't comment on that because I honestly don't know. He certainly wouldn't have been doing that on the first one. Um, but yeah, I mean, that
And
may
well,
well have happened.
I mean, I think check on the Electric Boogaloo because they said that it initially wasn't gonna actually be in the theater until he convinced them that it was.
Yeah, that's right. I think and maybe, I mean, maybe he had input on, hey, why don't we just make the trailer that guy kicking that concrete pole?
Mhm,
Maybe that was his idea. And as a trailer goes, it's kind of pretty basic, but
mhm,
as in terms of hooking you into what is this film, it's
yeah,
actually It's
Now,
actually
I did
pretty
not
good.
hear about him working on the trailer, but yeah, it's absolutely possible.
David Worth, who directed it, is primarily a cinematographer. In fact, a few of my friends have worked with him. I mean, he's done a lot of movies as a DOP, including several for Clint Eastwood, Any Which Way You Can, Bronco
Mhm.
Billy, things like that. So, and he was also DOP on Bloodsport before this. So I think this was probably Cannon's way of saying, okay, David, you can have one to direct now.
Yeah.
So he got his shot of directing on. I don't know if it's the first time he directed, but certainly was early in his career.
And let's see. What else you guys are thinking? Uh, Darth Vader says, "If this is the movie I'm thinking of, I fell asleep in the theater." Oh man.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a great film by any means. It's just,
And it says that Bloodsport is the only Van Damme movie I like. Um,
I really like the
and
one he did with John Woo, Hard Target. I really like that film. I think it's good. Good movie.
did I ever see that one?
I think that came out probably around 94, 95, something like that.
Hmm.
It was when he was doing bigger budgeted films. So John Woo really knows how to handle action. I mean, you either like his style or you don't, but I like his style.
Right, let's see. We're getting closer and closer to License to Drive 1988. Any thoughts on that movie?
I saw that in America. In fact, it's in my book.
Uh-oh.
I didn't realize that was a Canon film. That's one of the films reviewed in here for sure. And I saw that on a day. I don't know if I can find the page that I reviewed it, but I can tell you now that on that day I saw 4 films in a row.
It may
And
have
the
been just distributed. Let's see. What does it say? It's Canon distributor, so I think this is just
Okay.
distributed.
Well, it did well. I remember that I was like the only male in the cinema on their own. And the only reason I went to see it was because it was the only film that I hadn't seen that was on at the multiplex. And I would, on my days off from the summer camp, I would go and just watch 4 films in a row. And I think that might have been the day that I saw Roger Rabbit. But it was actually a lot better than I thought it was going to be. It was surprisingly fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it is it's lighthearted.
The actors that play
Movie.
the parents are really good in it. They get all the best lines. They get all the best moments of comedy, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, young Heather Graham, what more do you need?
She's gorgeous. I saw her several times in real life. Just flawless, flawless. Um, so, License to John Walker says License to Drive was great. The 2 Coreys are great in it. I love
Yeah,
seeing those 2 together.
that's, I think that's them in their heyday where they're kind of having fun, aren't they?
Yeah.
Working on it.
And we've got American Ninja 3 Blood Hunt, 1989, directed by Cedric Sundstrom and starring David Bradley. It's based on a story by Gary Conway, released on video.
Yeah. Saw it, thought it was terrible.
Ah.
I like the fact that Steve James got more to do, which is probably why he agreed to come back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was a terrible movie though. Just it was very by the numbers.
And
Gore
here's
free. There's a third one.
No, this is Gore 2. This is Gore 2.
Sorry, that's
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, Gore 2. Outlaw of Gore, also known as Gore 2, 1988, directed by John Bud Cardos, a sequel to Gore. It's loosely based on the Gore novel series by John Norman. Again, starring Urbano Barberini, Rebecca Ferrati, and Jack Palance as Xenos.
Yeah, has 2.4 on IMDb.
Now, and he shows up in Gore 1, but at the very last moment of the movie, he doesn't really I think they shot this must have shot it back to back
They
because
they probably either shot it back to back or they shot footage with him that they didn't use, found a way to give him an easy paycheck, and then cut those scenes into the second one.
yeah. No, I mean, yeah, because in the first movie, he's hardly in it at all, and he just shows up right at the end. And
Yeah, I mean
so
that's yeah, it's usually a kind of it's a paycheck, come in, can you do a couple of days filming? Here's $35,000 or something. Yeah, I
wow.
mean, he may have commanded even a higher fee than that. I just don't know.
Ah,
It
oh,
wouldn't have been for less than that. I can tell you now, it would have been around $30,000-$50,000 minimum, and he would have come in for a couple of days. It might have even been more, but it would have been a nice big chunk of change, decent hotel, come and stay in Italy for a few days, do a couple of days, see you later,
yeah.
go back. Your bank manager's very happy. And there was a lot of people because Quentin Tarantino mimics this in his last film. Um, Once Upon
Once
a Time
upon a
in
time,
Hollywood
yeah.
with the
Mhm.
whole thing that's happening with Leonardo DiCaprio's character, where he goes to Italy to work because he's not getting offered the jobs that he wants in America, and that sort of thing continued with actors right through to the kind of mid-90s with a
Yeah,
lot
to
of
the 90s.
older actors who weren't getting those jobs, but they were a name to put on a poster in Italy, which would mean people would go and see it
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
rent it in this case.
Sean Ennis says that John Norman has written like 38 books in the Gore series. I've seen the first Gore movie, had no clue they made a second one. Wow.
Yeah, I didn't know they'd made a second one until this stream, Sean, so you're not alone there, mate.
And Dark Plato said that the Gore books have had a bad rep in how women are depicted. I'm sure. I'm definitely sure, but um,
Well, scantily clad seems to be the way they're depicted from what I can see from the pictures. Well, never seen the film, so I can't comment.
and Unicorn Rampant Sue says that's essentially true for that entire savage pulp
Yeah,
genre. Yeah,
yeah.
it was pretty um, sexist, but also I think too they did have some moments where they would have like an Amazon or a female warrior. That was always cool to see. And it I don't know, I kinda do like those movies. I mean, they may be, exploitative, I would call them exploitative movies, but they for some reason, they always made me, they always tickled me in some way. Um,
Yeah, I mean, but it's
yeah.
like the women, like Kathleen Bella's character in um, Sword and the Sorcerer is kind of like your sexy princess, and you've got
Mhm.
scenes where she's scantily clad, but her character is really cool. She's very feisty. She like knees men in the nether regions every chance she gets, and
Yeah, yeah.
there's- it all depends on how the script is written. And
She does her best, yeah,
some of them
and I
give them
think
things to
too,
do.
the actual age I mean, they're describing like a fictitious kind of, barbarian, age, but it's supposed to be almost like medieval times, but even like with the savage edge, with to do with fantasy, and so I don't mind that at all. I don't take it personally as a woman. I think it comes with the territory. You're going to have a witch, a temptress. You're going to have like a slave girl. These things are part of that time period, the Hyborian age, I guess, if you want to call it that. And it comes with the territory. Um, but is it like if you were trying to make a story today, you might have to take out all that stuff. Uh, it might not be as fun. I think that's to do mainly with the 80s, 90s, and 70s. Um, and
It's,
Sean
yeah.
Combs says that he stopped reading the Gore books about the 12 novel. The basic stories is sound though. Rebecca Ferretti was a Playboy playmate, so
Oh, right. Yeah, well,
it's
she
a
looks like
genre.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, she was gorgeous, and boy did she have a lot of hair. Um,
Yeah, very big 80s bouffant hair.
yeah, yes. Um, all right, and so. we're just gonna move on if everyone doesn't mind. Uh, let's see, there's more stuff, but we've got Sinbad of the Seven Seas, 1989, produced and directed by Enzo G. Castorelli, from a story by Luigi Cosi, starring Lou Ferrigno and John Steiner.
Yeah, this was another one that had a much better poster in the book of this is the stuff we're gonna make. And
Oh, really?
yeah, Lou Ferrigno was his name was on the poster, but obviously they hadn't shot anything yet, so there weren't photographs, and it was much more like Ray Harryhausen kind of poster with
Ooh,
monsters, and I was like, oh, a new Sinbad movie, cool, you know.
yeah.
Now Enzo Castellari, of course, is the guy who directed you know, the one that Tarantino remade,
Mm,
the World War II thing, and of course he also was involved in Bronx Warriors 2, I think, as a
mhm,
second unit director, that kind of thing.
mm.
So he was a clever director, actually, Enzo. I have to give him credit. He knew how to get a lot out of the money he had. Did he make great films? Maybe not, but he knew what he was doing,
Yeah,
and he knew how to package a movie as well. But I have seen this, but a very long time ago, and I recall it was not great.
yeah, is it worth me trying to see or track down? I'm
You
liking
might
this so
like it. There's a lot of kitsch in it, so you know it
okay.
might hit the kitchometer in retro space station. But
Uh-huh, okay. Then we get to Cyborg. Oh boy, that's my favorite. Uh, well, it's one of my favorites. Cyborg, 1989, directed by Alba Pune. Jean-Claude Van Damme stars in it with Deborah Richard and Vincent Quinn and Dale Haddon. The budget was $500,000. Is that correct?
the budget was 3 million, and
Okay.
it was cut to $500,000 on day one of filming.
Ah, yes.
Again, I've had a long conversation with Albert about this film.
Oh, yes, 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 yes. Okay, so it was originally supposed to be 3,000,000. Now it was 500,000. Wow. Um, and it got its money back on the box office, but my goodness, that was that's pretty rotten to have to do that to a movie. And it looks amazing for the cost. To be honest, I think, I mean, he did some serious flips and tricks to get this movie to look as good as it does, to be very honest with you. Um, and tell us, did you have any questions that you asked Albert about this movie, or anything to share and specifically about this
I've
movie?
actually got some notes, so give me a second. I'm just trying to find them.
Oh, sure. Okay. While you're doing that, I'll look through and see if I can find any cyborg related messages here. Maddie Steady says, as a huge fan of Lou Ferrigno, I have his email address and his film, uh, and this film is an embarrassment. Oh no. Moonbeam said that he saw Cyborg, uh, and Simply Steve says, Van Damme versus the world. Yeah, in this movie, pretty much. And the place says the movie made only the movie made only $9.50. No, it made 9.5 to 10.2 million. The million just kind of went on the side there. So sorry about that. And Broker says, cut to 500,000, and it still made 10 million. Not bad, Jean-Claude Van Damme. Yeah, I think that it wasn't bad for. I mean, it made a profit because I don't think it had any other choice. I mean, you can't go any lower, but I mean, uh, God bless Albert for being able to
So,
piece
so
together a movie.
Albert was given this to direct instead of his Spider-Man film, which was cancelled.
Oh yeah.
And he did a lot of prep for Spider-Man. He had quite a specific vision for it. I mean, it's probably good that it didn't get made, because I don't think they had the money to really do the effects, and I'm sure Canon would have done their usual hack and slash with it. And they were also going to do a sequel to Masters of the Universe, which had done pretty well numbers wise worldwide. But by this time, your man Giancarlo Peretti had come in, and so both of that, I mean, he basically cut production. I think he brought like an automatic halt to anything that wasn't 50% in the can. So Masters 2 and Spider-Man both went under immediately. And this film was in prep, and I think originally a different director was in it. It was going to do it. I don't know who, but Albert was put on it quite late. Started prepping it on the base of 3 million. Got told that it was going to shoot for $500,000, and and they shot it for $500,000 in 23 days. So that's 3 weeks. Which is a very short time to shoot a feature film of this nature with stunts and so on.
Yeah.
So
I think they did. He did a wonderful job on it, considering.
I remember that. I remember like that. He had a lot of. He showed me some. Not they weren't storyboards. They were concept art or something like that. I think he had a couple of those left. And the original stuff that he wanted to do with the film looked amazing. And and then they also shot it in Wilmington, North Carolina, which is, I think, at the same studios that they would go on to shoot Dawson's Creek. I mean, not canon, obviously, but
Interesting.
But those studios when they are in their infancy, and of course, Wilmington, North Carolina. Although Dawson's Creek makes it look very picturesque, if you actually go on Google Earth and look around there, you will see that nearby Wilmington, I think it's northeast of the town, there's a huge industrial area with a lot of factories and a lot of stuff that looks very unpleasant. And I seem to recall that formed the backdrop for things like, this is the industrial burnt out whatever of the future. But he was
Oh,
not.
nice.
He thinks it's one of his better films, but I don't think he was happy with it, because it was so different from what he envisaged. I always remember that one of the critics in the UK said about the film, I think it was in one of we had 2 video magazines that reviewed films that came out on video, because it's straight to video in the UK, but it was a big video seller because by now anything with Van Damme would rent, and so shops would get multiple copies. But I remember one of them said, a burning piece of fire in an oil drum barrel does not a post-apocalyptic world make. And I always remembered that quote, because I thought, I don't want somebody to say that about my post-apocalyptic movie one day, although that's one of the few scripts that I haven't actually written. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, when you imagine the mental strain of that
Yeah.
and he probably would have had a schedule for 5 or 6 weeks. Most feature films have a minimum schedule of 5 to 6 weeks, because you normally have travel days from a couple of locations if you've got more than one location. So there's always a travel day to relocate the unit. You have to have a day off. Some do a 5-day week and have the weekend off, but most feature films do a 6-day week and have a day off, usually in the middle, around Wednesday, Thursday, something like that. So you do 3 days on, have a day off, and then you do 3 days on. So imagine having that kind of schedule all planned out for your movie over 6 weeks with a £3 million budget, and suddenly being told you've got to shoot it in half the time, with 75% less the money. I can't tell you what that would do to my head. So
Yeah. And then my question would be like, where's all the money going? Right? Because
well,
like
yeah.
if you have gotten the okay and you've gotten the money from investors of 3 million, what happened to the what happened to the money? That's just that's not what the investors gave the money for the budget to be only five.
I mean, I think I know where a lot of the money went, and we can talk about Giancarlo Peretti when we get to the end of this. You know, when we're
Mhm.
getting to kind of
Mhm.
canon wrapping up, and that's a
Yeah.
good time to come back to him. But I think I know where a lot of the money went, and
Yeah.
that man was responsible for a lot of it, and
Yeah.
we'll
Because
talk about that.
even with the problems um with um with the structure of how Canon was running their business before, they seem to find a nice niche of it when they were doing Beat Street and movies like that. And they had some successes, they had some failure, but the money kind of allocated, kind of evened itself out throughout the production. But here we're just like, uh, you know, getting finding out that a lot of these productions aren't even getting the money they're supposed to get, or using the money that they're supposed to get. But this is of course a scene from Cyborg, as a guilty pleasure of mine. Love that movie so much. And Here's sort of like a little something I read about.
Yeah,
Um,
that's right. This script was originally called Slinger, and it was one that he had on the back burner.
mhm.
But Van Damme was not attached to that. The role was not, and Van Damme was prepping another movie. And then they scrapped that movie, and it became this one. That's I remember now. That's what happened.
Yeah, yeah. And Brogu says, "I love it when a movie has a small budget and they make a killing at the box office." Me too. I do. It's like rooting for the little guy, you know. Um, yeah, we get some backup on that. Um, so I'll just read this out. Pune's director's cut was released in 2014 in Germany with the film's original title, Slinger. The director's cut of the film features Pune's editing and previously unreleased scenes. So if you're lucky enough to get your hands on that, I know that he was personally handling the distribution of that. But do you know if his estate is like still?
There's quite a few. Um, he was working on quite a few sort of his cuts of his films because he was doing a cut of Captain America.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he was quite diligent about keeping all the footage. So he kept all the reels of stuff that if it was cut out the film, he'd still got the original
Oh,
footage
good.
in cans somewhere. Of course, nowadays you'd have to transfer that to digital. So that, I mean, it's not as complicated as using a Steinbeck and doing all that. But uh, I see, because I wasn't a big fan of Cyborg. I do remember when this cut was being made because I'd met Albert by then. In fact, I met him around the time this was happening, and I remember being told the original title was Slinger, which I completely forgot. And there's a reason behind that title as well, which he also told me, which I have to confess is gone from my memory, but it's something to do with the plot.
Mhm.
One of the main characters, um, and and then I think that sort of some elements of the film, that what they were trying to do was the film that Van Damme was kind of prepping for that wasn't this one. I vaguely remember was some kind of Terminator ripoff.
Oh.
But um, Peretti came in and said, "Well, no, we don't have the budget for that. That's going. Get him to do a cheaper film."
Oh,
And of course,
man.
Albert wasn't going to do Slinger at this point. He was going to do Masters of the Universe 2 and then Spider-Man, because they wanted to get Masters of the Universe 2 out quickly
Yeah.
because the first one had been a big success. They just sort of get a sequel out now. So he was already quite well into prepping Masters 2 when that got cancelled by Peretti as well. and then they said, okay, listen, you're going to shoot this other £3 million film. What scripts you got? And I think he said, well, I've got what's something that Van Damme can do, and he brought this one out, and I think they tried to put some elements of the other film in, which Albert, I'm sure, would have greatly resisted, knowing him, and he probably did. But how much of the director's cut would be Albert's original script would probably still only be about 50-60%, because he wouldn't have got to shot everything he wanted to shoot, And that's the same with pretty much every film that he's ever done. I think the only one where he got to shoot almost everything he wanted, he told me, was The Sword and the Sorcerer.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is, even though it's a low budget,
I love it. I think
it's really great, a great story,
it's a
great,
fantastic movie.
yeah.
And
And
it's
it has with the possibility, like, of some more, like, a wide, huge world.
yeah, and
It's got some really great, like,
it was such a shame that
world-building nuggets.
they didn't make the sequel there and then,
Mhm.
Tales of an Ancient Empire, and it kind of got
Mhm.
made
Oh, yeah,
late in the 90s, and it
it
just
didn't
really was
work.
it wasn't well, I didn't have the money. It just wasn't very good.
Yeah.
I actually met the distributor of that film in Cannes. That was the first time I realized it had even been completed.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And it just wasn't very good.
Crazy. Yeah, that was insane. That it was like, this is supposed to be the sequel to that epic movie? No,
But
no, no, no.
but Albert gets a really bad rep on IMDb. You'll go and look at one of his films, and there'll always be somebody giving it a 1 or 2 out of 10. They go, "Oh, Albert Poon film. What more do
Yeah.
I need to say?"
Oh,
And I'd
yeah.
say to that person, "Well, you try making a film where that happens to you on day 1 of photography, and see
Oh,
if you
yeah.
don't go completely nuts crazy." And it's amazing that he was able to complete any films at all under that regime. There
Oh,
were a lot of
yeah.
films that were shooting under Canon with young directors like Albert, which never saw the light of day, which
Oh, I'm
you're never
sure.
going to see.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm
um,
sure.
that they just cut the production, and that was it. And the posters are, you can see some of the posters of those films in the corridor in the documentary, but they've never been released because they're incomplete.
And by 1989, Madame Golan, citing differences with both Peretti and Globus, resigned from his position and left Canon to start 21st Century Film Corporation, while Globus remained with Pathé. Cyborg was one of the final films produced by Golan and Globus that received a wide release under the Canon Films banner. So that was the end of the cousins working together, which created a huge rivalry between the two. And we're gonna briefly get into the rivalry, which is kind of funny, a little bit funny, but also sad at the same time. 1990 to 1994 relaunch and demise following the Golan's departure from Canon Film. Golan's uh, departure from Canon Films, he became the head of 21st Century Film Corporation. A majority of the Canon film library became part of MGM library. So a lot of their films will be under MGM
Yeah, and
these days.
MGM was briefly bought out by Giancarlo Peretti.
Hmm.
So, and I was working at the cinema at that time, and suddenly, all of I think Canon, we had green peppermint shirts, and the little badges with the Canon logo on and
So
whatnot.
it was about that time.
And then suddenly, big box arrives, and it's blue peppermint shirts
Oh boy.
with an MGM logo with the little lion on with the badge. And I had that badge. I had my Canon one for a really long time with my name stenciled on it. And you had to stencil your own names on. We had a stencil gun behind reception. We had
Hmm.
all these blank Canon badges with the logo on and enough room to stencil a name. But MGM was a bit more flash. They'd actually print your names on the badge instead of you having to use the stencil gun. But yeah, and so suddenly we all just got new blue shirts. But we'll come
Interesting.
back to Giancarlo in a minute.
We're definitely gonna get into that. But yeah, so we're moving on to more films. Um, one of them, which I actually saw this,
Oh
Rockula
God, yeah.
19. Did you see this one?
I remember it again. I remember it in the book, and I remember posters for it. It didn't get a cinema release in in the
No.
UK. I don't know about the States.
Yeah, no, from my research, it says, like it was completed in 1988, and the World Canon Pictures were filing for bankruptcy at the very same time. The film played in few theaters before being dumped in on video in August. Um, so yeah, that is very, very interesting how that all played out. So this is the rivalry. This is funny.
Yeah,
There
Lambada and Lambada: The Last Dance, I think, were the 2
yeah,
titles.
these are
Or
the
The
2.
Forbidden Dance, The Forbidden
Yeah,
Dance.
the Forbidden Dance.
Yeah.
Okay, so Lambada, this was, the one that was, put out by, Canon Films, and, uh, it was sort of like they were rushing to compete with each other, who was gonna put out the film, before the other, or who was gonna do a better film, and basically, they both did terribly.
Well,
They
they
both
yeah, and actually we got Lambada got a cinema, that one, which has the lady in the poster who
mhm,
people will recognise because she's still a jobbing actress today.
yeah.
You might also remember that she played the Jennifer Grey role in the briefly it was cancelled after, like, less than a season. They did a television series of Dirty Dancing,
Oh, yeah.
and that's the same actress that played the Jennifer Grey role. And Lambada did get a fairly big release in the UK, that one.
Mhm.
I think the other one got a smaller that I think that got a smaller, release, but they
Yeah.
were competing so quickly that Menaheim on The Forbidden Dance, he insisted on shooting the scenes in order so that the editor and the sound department could be cutting those scenes while the next scenes were shooting. And they say this on the documentary. If you look in the final scene where they film the final dance, which I think happens in the rain,
Yeah.
everybody was absolutely knackered. So no one's really dancing energetically. They're all just kind of, sort of doing the
Yeah.
Lance dance,
Yeah.
that's
There's really, yeah, they covered that in the, documentary as well. And
yeah.
it sadly, it opened on the same day, like, they really, were I don't know why they decided to do this, as it benefited neither one. Um
Yeah, they halved the box office, so people kind of they didn't really know which one to go and see.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody went to see, or very, very few people went to see both.
yeah.
Um, there was another movie that came out around not that long after this, which was also picking up on that kind of South American sexy dance vibe.
Mm,
It was another film. I don't think it was nothing to do with Canon, but it tried to ride that wave
that
as well.
same way.
And I remember we got that at the cinema too, but I can't recall the name of it. Slam Dance or
Yeah,
something.
because there was also a song that was, it was the Lambada song that was
Yeah,
reaching it was the top of the charts at the time, and,
apparently
and
Richard
they
Lynch
were
was in one of these.
oh,
Now I
yeah?
have to watch it.
This is hilarious. To me, I think this is, funny, but it's also sad because we have both cousins, fighting against each other in a way, or
Yeah.
in this weird kind of thing, and their relationship completely, torn apart there.
I
And we got Delta Force 2, the Colombian Connection,
I saw that
1990.
I saw that at the cinema.
Oh, you did?
I did, and if you give me a second, I'm gonna try and find that cinema for you so we can put it up on the screen. Because it would be quite funny if you guys saw it actually. You'll see why when you see it, but let me see if I can
Okay.
find
I'll
it.
just check. I'm also gonna check the 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 chat really quick. Simply Steve, Dirty Dancing rival, uh, and Moonbeam saw Lambada in 1990, and the Forbidden Dance. Oh gosh. Um, And Dan Gandy says, so the one that had Richard Lynch in it. Oh, man.
Where is it? Panton Street.
Oh,
Yeah.
and also while you do that, I'm gonna read the information here. Delta Force 2, American action for film, a sequel to the 1986 Chuck Norris film, The Delta Force, also starring Norris as Major Scott McCoy. It, of course, didn't do very well in the box office.
Okay, I have the venue in question.
Okay.
Let me I'll tell you something about this cinema, because this cinema used to be owned by Canon. Okay, this was, at the time we're talking about, the Canon Panton Street. It's a 4-screen cinema right round the corner from Leicester Square, where you have in Leicester Square, which is, you can just see it's just through there, and if I zoom in there, you can just see the tower of the massive Odeon in Leicester Square. But this was the Canon Panton Street. It's now an Odeon Lux, which is what they've done in it now, because it's got 4 screens and they're all about the size of my living room. So what they've now done is they put luxury seats in them, big luxury seats. You can buy food, and they've just made it a kind of,
Oh,
you know,
cool.
you take a small group of friends, and but back then it was a Canon Panton Street, and the films that went here were the films that no one else wanted. So this was the only screen that was showing Delta Force 2 in London.
Oh, man.
And I quite liked the first one. It was a bit of a guilty pleasure of mine. So I thought, you know, I'll come along and see it. Now, I've been here recently, not since they've given it the Lux label, which means that they've done deluxe seating in all the screens. Oh, excuse me. But I went there recently to see a film called Bonded by Blood, which had some friends of mine that worked on it. And the director of the movie was actually there. It wasn't a premiere or anything. It just happened to be on. Again, it was one of the few screens that would take the movie, and he'd taken his parents to go and see it. And me and him bumped into each other in the bathroom. And the one thing I remember was the bathroom was so tiny, it took us a minute or two to sort of negotiate each other from one to go past the other. So he could get away from the urinal, and I could actually get into it. And
oh, that's crazy.
so this was the cinema where, if you were a film director and your film opened here, you know, everybody knew that you were kind of at the bottom of the chain. And then I don't know if I can get into Leicester Square quickly, but let me see if I can. I think I might be able to. Yes, I can. So that used to be the Odeon West End, and it's now a luxury hotel which has got a cinema in it. But it was the screen where I saw Silverado and things like that. This is where all the premieres take place in London. This is Leicester Square. The 2 big cinemas that get all the premieres. This is my favorite cinema. So this is the Empire IMAX right here. That's got an absolutely amazing screen that seats about 700. It's a massive IMAX. And then the place where I saw the premiere of June, for example, is the Odeon Leicester Square, which is here, which seats even more people, but the screen just isn't as nice because you're quite far away from it. And they've got a nice bar up there, so you can sit up here, and as you can see, the home of the premieres. So just while we're on the map, those are the 2 cinemas that do all the big premieres in the UK.
Oh, wow.
But where you don't want your film premiering is in the Panton cinema just down the road there. And my film premiered in a screen a couple of streets over, which is the I think it's now it's the Haymarket, but I can't remember who owns it now, actually. And that was also a Canon cinema, and my Canon cinema manager ended up working there, and he used to give me free tickets for years.
Oh, cool.
So the only thing I can remember about this scene is that this film is that there's quite a cool scene where a load of people get killed in a van, and apart from that, I can't remember anything else about it.
Well, Brogo wants to let you know something. Says, "Hey Lance, did you know that Chuck Norris never needs to flush the toilet? He always scares the crap out of it."
Yeah, I mean, the Panton Street cinema wouldn't be big enough for Chuck Norris to get in. He'd need more room than the auditoriums could provide in there.
Absolutely. Let's see. Shannon says I saw a Trafalgar Square. Where's that?
No, that's true. I saw Howard the Duck at a cinema in Trafalgar Square across the street from Tower Records. So, mate, you didn't see it in Trafalgar Square. You saw it down the road from Piccadilly Circus. I'll tell you why I know that, because I saw Howard the Duck at that same cinema. That was at the Palazzo Cinema, which is, again, it's 2 streets over. It's no longer there, sadly. And it was a beautiful cinema. It had 4 screens. And the first film I ever saw there was Young Sherlock Holmes. And I also
Oh, I
saw
love that movie.
Biggles. I saw Biggles there. I saw Always there. I saw Scrooge there the same day I saw Die Hard. And I saw Die Hard, by the way, at that big Odeon I just showed you. And yeah, when you work at a cinema, well, by that time I wasn't even working for that cinema chain anymore. But my manager was just there, and anytime I popped in to see him, David Ayres, his name was, no relation to the director. He would always give me free cinema tickets. He was a very nice man.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Young Sherlock Holmes was great.
that was the Plaza Cinema, which was part of the UCI chain, which became UIP at one point. It's gone now. It's a Sainsbury's now. It's a supermarket now, sadly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, very, very sadly. Oh my God, I don't think I even saw this one.
Yeah, definitely. Like after like the first two, I mean, so this one is combining the guy who stars in the third one, David Bradley, is teaming up with Michael Dudikoff, who's not in the third one. So, and I don't think that's James is in this one. Then we have Delta Force 3, The Killing Game, 1991. The third and final film in the Delta Force series. It's the only film in the series not to star Chuck Norris, although it does star his son, Mike Norris. It also starred Nick Cassavetes and Matthew Penn.
Yeah, I saw that on video.
I'm seeing like this is like getting to be like Netflix movies at this point.
Yeah.
Well, when the early days of Netflix movies, because now Netflix movies are actually improving quite a bit. American Kickboxer, also known as American Kickboxer 1, 1991, directed by Franz Nell, and written by Emil Colby, based on the original story by the film's lead actor, John Barrett. Did you see this one? Oh, we can't hear you.
I'm sorry, I was muted. Yeah, I think I may have rented it out. I was between sort of 89 and the early 90s. On and off, I worked at 2 or 3 different video stores.
Oh, cool.
And this is the sort of film I may well have taken home and watched, eating a pizza if no one else had rented it by then.
Yeah. I remember those good old days of just grabbing a video. You just never knew what was going to be on it. And
yeah.
making it pizza night. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. I'm actually going to find that cinema that Sean went to so I can show him what it looks like now. It's a real shame that they got rid of it because it was a beautiful cinema.
Okay, so we're getting to the part where we're talking about Peretti.
Oh, well, yeah.
And I'll just read the text here that I've got here. Peretti was pushed out of management control of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer in 1991 after he defaulted on loan payments. He was later convicted of perjury and evidence tampering. He fled the country for Italy before he could be sentenced or extradited to France, where he was wanted on criminal charges related to his use of MGM's French assets.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, to elaborate a bit further on that, what he did was he was basically, so he came in, he made all those cuts, okay? And you'd think that he was trying to put the company back into solvency and whatnot. No. I'll tell you where that money went. That money went on. He had 4 mistresses. So a lot of money went on presents for the 4 mistresses. He gave his 21-year-old, he fired the senior accountant at Canon,
Ah.
and he gave his 21-year-old daughter that job. So, of course,
Oh.
she was overseeing the very money that he was stealing.
Oh, man.
And then they tried to hide a load of the money, and, yeah, he fled, to Italy, and, I mean, he can't go back into France.
Uh-huh.
Actually, Sean, if Retro doesn't mind, if I just show you quickly, mate, I've got the cinema here where you
Oh,
saw Howard
okay,
the Duck.
let's do it.
So this is, you can see it's still got the Palazzo logo on the top. And this entrance to the Tesco's here was the main entrance to the cinema. This is just down from Piccadilly Circus, which is just up there. It is just round the corner from Trafalgar Square, Sean. That's literally go to the bottom of this road and turn left. It's kind of between the two. Now, you'll see that there's a cinema there now. So the main big auditorium, which would have been where you would have seen Howard the Duck, was Screen 1, which filled up all of this section up here. It was a big seater, seated about 400 people. Then they had 2 screens downstairs and a 4th one in the basement, which I think is where the View Cinema that's here now. Now they went right down underground. There's like 4 screens there, but I mean they're nothing special. This was one of my favourite screens in the central London, and there was an Odeon as well that was just near here. I think it might have. I can't remember if it was in this street or the next one along. That's also gone, which always premiered the intellectual films. So things like Dead Poets Society premiered there, and it was a single screen with 400 seats. And directors always wanted their film to premiere there because it meant their film was intellectual. So
Mm.
The Mosquito Coast was the first film I saw there, for example.
Mhm.
Yeah, see, Sean has said yes. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, mate. Whoever forgets the first time and the place where they see Howard the Duck come out of a movie going, did I just see a movie about a girl getting it on with a duck? What have I just seen? So,
Oh, man, I love that movie, to be very honest. It's a guilty pleasure of mine.
very
Um,
guilty pleasure.
very
You're
guilty.
very guilty for having that pleasure for sure. Let's get back to our
And,
man.
uh, Dan Candy says that, by 91, I was a poor out of high school kid, had to pay for my own movies, so I couldn't just watch anything anymore. Miss seeing a lot of these. Oh, yeah. For me, I caught a lot of these on late night TV. Unfortunately, Delta Force 3 didn't get my dollar.
Yeah, I mean, I was working at a cinema, and basically anything that hadn't rented, you could take home when you went home. And they sometimes put a hold on the big new releases, but for the most part, you could take what you want. And I always brought it back the next day, so
Yeah.
I got to rent out loads of rubbish on that basis.
And Sean Ennis, regarding the theater, says the seats were huge and comfortable, the most comfortable I've ever
Yeah,
sat
they
in
were,
my time.
and the Empire Screen 1, they were exactly the same. They were like huge airline chairs, and
Ooh.
they were the only cinema that had those chairs. The Plaza and the Empire, both owned by the same people, were the only cinemas that had those chairs in London. And you could rock them. You could rock them back and forth as well. I
Oh, wow.
always remember that. Yeah, it was great. Great screen.
So, did you have any more to add to Peretti at all?
Let's see if I missed anything. His reign at MGM became the basis for the film Get Shorty, which was produced by
Mm.
MGM. So that I didn't know. I'm trying to think which character in Get Shorty he would have been based on, whether John Travolta or Gene Hackman. But
Interesting.
yeah, he used company money for presents for several girlfriends, including a former runner-up Miss Universe. Um,
Oh!
yeah, and he was fined 1 million francs by Paris court. He may well have paid that money. I don't know. It's funny because when you look at his page online, it's like nationality, occupation, known for, one word, fraud, not
Um,
known for, film producer or
yeah.
whatever.
That's
And I mean,
really
he could
that's
have come in and turned the company around. And
yeah.
actually, here's an interesting tidbit for people watching. He is the reason why you have a massive gap in the James Bond production output, because he cancelled all productions, including Bond, which was prepping. Bond was made by MGM, and it's always been made by MGM. And at one point, I think United Artists, but it was an MGM production, and there's a big gap between when they did Living Daylights. They did the second Timothy Dalton one.
Oh, so he was responsible for
Giancarlo is the reason why we didn't get a third Timothy Dalton film.
No.
Yeah, he's the man. He's the man, and he's still alive. He's 81 and he's still alive. So, guys, if you want to track him down to his Italian estate and have words with him, he's the reason we did not get a third Dalton movie. And I think that I liked Dalton as Bond. I thought he was.
Oh yeah, I loved him.
He was good in the role. I think he was the closest Bond to the book. And I would have loved to have seen a third movie. And of course, he got fed up of waiting. And I think, that it was Pierce Brosnan. That was quite some time later.
Well, Moonbeam says that it's dinner time. If I'm not back before Retro's done, ciao for now. Okay, we'll see you in the next one. Definitely had a great time chatting with you today, Moonbeam. And also, Maddie's Daddy's saying it's time to head home. Have a good night, everyone. It's good to have you in the chat today as well. Yeah, so the only person that's left is Yoram Golubas, who's trying to keep this thing going. So let's see, we only have just a little bit more to go because we wrapped up.
Was this him making films under 21st century films or something?
That's Menachem that was doing that one. So
Yoram is still doing canon.
Yeah, he was still trying to hold on, and so there's a lot of movies and stuff.
Yeah. No, I remember the pilot for that being released on video. Did quite well on video.
Yeah, and so they did produce in the early years the Walker T. Texas Ranger series, and they did this weird movie, Night Terrors, 1993.
I saw that film.
You did? Toby Hooper?
Yeah, I saw that movie, and it was quite a strange film.
Okay, because it was originally supposed to be shot in Egypt, which was later changed to Tel Aviv, and this led the original director to quit the feature, and then Toby Hooper stepped in. Yeah, this is so wild. I don't even know. How did you like it at all? Was it?
I just remember that I saw it. I also remember the trailer, because the trailer was on a lot of videos that I rented around that time. And I can't listen. I've seen thousands of films, and the good ones stick in my memory. The really bad ones stick in my memory. The ones that are kind of indifferent tend to just fade away. So I have a feeling it didn't quite fall into the so bad it's good category, or it might have just been naff. But
yeah, Robert Englund stars in this, and he plays 2 roles in it. Then there's The Mummy Lives, which I could barely find any information on. I don't know if anybody has seen that one.
The big book with all the stuff in it. They had a mummy poster in there, actually.
Oh, okay.
And I guess that project eventually became The Mummy Lives, because they never made a mummy film as far as I can remember.
And then we've got American Cyborg Steel Warrior 1993, directed by Boaz Davidson, starring Joe Lara, who I really love seeing him in movies, Nicole Hansen, and John St. Ryan. It was released in theaters but did poorly. Joe Lara is in a movie. Oh gosh, I'm forgetting the name of the movie. Oh no, I'm forgetting.
I'll tell you, because I'm just getting this up on. See, I can't remember if this is. I would always kind of rent out those post-apocalyptic looking films. Joe Lara passed away, by the way, in 2021.
Yes, he did. In
quite
a
young
plane crash.
at the age of 58.
Yeah, he passed away in a plane crash.
Oh God! So you're probably wanting to mention that he also a significant role that he played was Tarzan.
Yeah, he did Tarzan. But there's another movie. Is another apocalyptic movie that was it was
Yeah, it might
Hologram Man. Is it
Hologram Man.
or it's
Let me see. Not seeing that one.
oh man.
He was
That was
actually in one episode of Baywatch. Oh no, yeah, Hologram Man, 1995.
oh yeah, that's it. That's it. Oh my God. I actually
Directed by Richard Pepin. It's got John Amos in it, the dad from Coming to America.
he has this very small role in it, and I'm telling you, I do love that movie. It is super super. It's got so much kitsch in it and
Criminal
schlock.
mind in an indestructible body. What a
Yeah.
what a what a tagline.
Oh yeah, it's really great. The guy who was he the director or the writer, and that plays the bad guy in the movie. I mean, that guy really he really went for it. It was really great. Very enjoyable schlocky film.
Somebody describes it on IMDb as a dumbed down version of Demolition Man.
Yes, yes, it is. I would say
Accurate?
that's accurate. Uh,
Okay.
but but a lot of fun, absolutely. Yeah, and they borrowed a few or pay homage to some scenes from Speed, Demolition Man, Terminator. It was like they got all of the action movies from the early 80s and also 90s, and also just like put their own spin on it. It's really
But did you
entertaining.
see American Cyborg Steel Warrior, and was
No,
it any
okay,
good?
so this is the one that I'm looking for right now. Trying to see it is, and I wish to I knew if it was any good.
Let me,
Um,
there's some stills of the movie. Do you wanna see them? I've got them right here.
okay,
Let me pop them up just to give us some visuals.
why not?
You see, because I feel like this is the sort of movie that I would have rented because it's got that, you
Ah,
know,
yeah.
semi Mad Max
Yeah, yeah,
vibe
yeah.
vibe going on. There's
Definitely.
John St. Ryan doing his best Rutger Hauer impression.
Mhm.
Really looks like Rutger Hauer from Blade Runner there. There's Joe Lara. Yeah, I mean, Joe Lara was one of those actors, it's like, oh yeah, he's a good leading man. Is he available? I think $5,000. We can get him.
Mhm.
So he would have been affordable for this kind of movie. So this is
Look
what
at
I'm always
that.
interested in seeing are the locations where they
Yeah.
filmed it. Did they use that same cement works from Independence Day that appeared in like 20 films around this time? But that doesn't look like that place. That looks probably Northern California in the docks somewhere, or I think
Mhm.
that's it in the way of stills. There's not a lot. Got the same stills on the 17 years have passed since the nuclear war and the human race is rapidly becoming extinct. Cities of burned out shells filled with roaming gangs of criminals, thieves, cannibals, and bizarre cults. Well, I'm in. I mean, that's
Yeah,
enough
yeah.
for me.
I need to find this movie
I feel
immediately.
like I've seen it. I feel like I did watch it, and it might be one of those. Maybe we should do a watch party on it, Retro. That'd be fun. I feel like it's a film. If I sit down and watch it now, I'll be 10 minutes in and I'll go, yeah, I saw this. Um, yeah. So I feel anyway. But there you go. That's what's available.
Awesome. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we're close to the end. I think there's one more. This is the last movie.
Ah,
In 1994, Canon Pictures released its last film, Hellbound, starring Chuck Norris, Calvin Levels, and Christopher Name or Neem. It was directed
Neem.
Neem, directed by Aaron Norris, and that's his brother, and written by Ian Rabin, Anthony Ridio, and Brent Friedman. Let me see. I think I have one more. The company became defunct on January 24th, 1994. Ceased operations and folded into Metro Goldwyn Mayer. So
MGM. Yeah, that
that
film was entirely shot in Israel, and it was actually filmed in '92.
oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, but was released in '94. So it was the last
Mhm.
one that they released, and I imagine it was probably held back because they I would imagine the artist in, you know, Globus probably would have like, okay, let's try and make this one look semi decent. I don't know if it was any good because if I saw it, I've forgotten. I have a feeling I didn't see this. I remember picking up the video.
Yeah, this is I think the one of the first, like, supernatural kind of movies that, that Chuck Norris ever did, because it does have, like, a supernatural, uh,
Yeah,
flavor to it.
it's got that Arnold Schwarzenegger sort of end of days
Mhm.
vibe, because he's sent to investigate the murder of a rabbi, and the person who killed him may or may not be an emissary of Satan, and you know, there's stuff to do with 9 pieces of a shattered holy relic, and so it's got a bit of, yeah, Chuck Norris versus Pinhead. Yeah, I mean, that's not unfair, in a way. Yeah, I haven't seen it. I saw the trailer, but that's another film maybe I should sit down and watch. I mean,
Yeah, it's just one of those that I'm curious about as well. And so in 2015, Globus sold sorry, where was that? Globus Max and returned to Hollywood to launch a new film production company, Rebel Way Entertainment. As of February 2023, their only film is Deported, which was released in 2020, directed by Tyler Spindell. So.
I've
That's the
I've never even heard of that movie.
yeah, I've never heard of it either.
I'm guessing that's why we didn't hear about a sudden resurrection of Canon Films. So,
Mhm.
Deported, when his new girlfriend gets deported on a technicality, Ross hires a fake husband to get her back into the country because he's not ready to commit to marriage.
Oh gosh.
I
My
mean, I can already see where the plot's going to go there. She's going to
yeah,
fall in love with the fake husband, and chaos will ensue.
yeah.
Um, the main actor looks like a kind of, well, we can't afford Jack Black. Who can we get that looks like
Yes.
Jack Black? Let's get Mickey Gooch Jr. So yeah,
Oh, wow. Dan Candy, thank you so much for this $9 super
ooh,
chat. Thank you. It
money.
says, great stream. Loved it. Thank you so much. And let's see if I can get a nice, proper way to show that I'm very thankful and grateful for that.
I need to get me one of those. Can you believe my channel is still not monetized yet? And
What?
when I looked last, I was 115 hours away from being monetized. Hang on, I'll tell you what it is now. I've got to go to YouTube Studio, right? And yeah, and of course they're also
Good
supposed to
night, Raphael.
send you an email automatically. So I've got 286 to 280 and 860 2,861 watch hours. That's actually less
Good night,
than
Grogu.
it's less than I had when I checked last time. How can that be right?
What? They took some views away from you?
They took some watch hours away because
That's
I
ridiculous.
worked out I had 115 watch hours to go, and now I've got 139.
Okay, here's my what I think you should do. I think you should um get some links of your most popular videos, especially like get anyone where you're doing an interview with an industry
Yeah,
person.
like sort of 2-minute vignettes and stick a whole load of those up.
No, no, no. I was just gonna say just get the links and post them on Twitter and just like
Oh,
and try to get people to watch and just say,
that's a good idea.
please watch my I need your help. Can you please watch this?
Yeah, I might, I could do that as a segue into my interview on Tuesday,
Yeah,
and,
just to let people know that you've done these interviews and maybe they don't know that that these are, you know, especially what they do, what that you have them and they have probably missed them. So,
Yeah, I mean, you
um,
have to make stuff super easy for people to find.
uh,
Um,
Keith E says, Retro Nerd Girl and the Outcast make a great combo. Just no, just no fries.
Retro Nerd Girl is an honorary member of the Outcast Creative
Ah, that's
already, because
sweet. You guys are.
all you have to do to be a member of the Outcast Creative is to create with us collaboratively in one way, shape, or form, and that's it.
Ah, that's
Remember,
really nice.
there you go.
And Kitty says, Hooper's been watching your show for 10 hours a day. That's right. Keith E. Yeah, they've been watching your show. So yeah, anybody who's watching this, definitely check out Outcast Creative's channel. Uh, do subscribe, but also watch his material. It's really good stuff.
Yeah, the
I
last interview I did last Wednesday was with John Walsh, who's the biographer of Ray Harryhausen. And not only is he his biographer, he's one of the
Oh yeah,
trustees
yeah.
of his archive, his entire archive.
By the way, I watched that this morning.
It's good, right?
Very good. I watched every single second of it, so I think that's the first one you should post up
Yeah, and I
on
mean
your.
he's got replicas
Oh,
of all the creatures, and he's in charge of the licensing for the Ray Harryhausen monsters. He's going to come back because we're doing a top 5
oh,
Ray Harryhausen monsters
wow, yeah, that's
screen.
gonna be amazing. I can't wait to see that. And
Well, you need to be
also,
on that. You need to
I
be on that
wish,
one.
I mean, the timing was probably gonna be.
We'll try and put it on a bit later, so maybe you can come on towards the end and say these are my top 5. So
Maybe. Um, but also it's gonna say the community tab in YouTube is also very effectual. So if you can post it there too, that might work with a little blurb about just like what you just told us. I think people will be interested to learn more about um Ray Harryhausen because his stories were amazing. I loved
yeah,
watching that this morning.
I mean this
Um,
guy had a lot of stories about him that I hadn't heard before. It was yeah, no, it was really good.
Yeah. Oh,
Great
there we
guest.
go. Okay, so I think we're pretty much done for the day. Oh wow, this is fast. It was only took us 3 hours and a half.
Oh, is that all?
That's it. I mean, look, thank you for everyone who stuck in there with us throughout this incredible three-part series. And especially today, being that it was 3 hours and a half. You guys are troopers. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Oh, look who was saying hi. It's Super Bro Corey. So great to see you. Oh my God, I miss ya. We got to do something soon. And let's see. Keith E. Retro, can you make Outcast a moderator? Oh, he's not a moderator? Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll do that after
Well,
the.
you don't have to make me a moderator if you
Yeah,
feel you've got enough already, but I'm quite happy to be one because I'm often
sure.
lurking in your.
Sure.
I'll put them
I
on in the
I
background.
Yeah, I usually make also the moderation is also good for to protect you from like if you if somebody sees you and they can't flag you or can't take you you down or whatever.
Mm.
So uh moderation has its perks.
Well, that's true.
Yeah. So there let's see. And oh look, Gary says caught the last hour, enjoyed it. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad.
Thanks,
So
Gary. Much appreciated. Is that one of my Garys? I've got quite a few Garys.
I'm
I'm
not
not sure
sure.
if that's one of my Garys.
But Gary has been hanging out with us, so I think he may be he might be both of our Garys. All right, we're fighting over you, Gary. He's my Gary.
I think he's yours. We've got quite a few Garys in the
We have.
creative.
Oh yeah, okay. Um, so guys, my next video is gonna be tomorrow, and that is going to be the watch party for Starship Troopers.
Ah, so wish I
Uh,
was on that.
uh
I'll probably be out, but
oh yeah.
That's one of my favorite sci-fi movies of all time. I just
Oh,
think
it's
it's
great.
a
Oh,
brilliant.
Super Bro. Yeah, isn't that one of yours too, Super Bro, Corey? I hope you're still here. Um,
Um,
yeah, I
um,
will be doing that one, and also look if you can't make it, there's always the replay, and it's so much fun because you can still follow along with the timer.
quick story about that was that
Okay.
me and my two friends that went to see we went to see it on New Year's Day. It was released, I think it was either released the day before or something like that. So it literally just come out, and we stayed up all night the night before. We were drunk, and that was around the time those party phone lines were around. You remember before the days of chat
Yeah,
rooms?
yeah.
You call the phone, you join the party now. And we all got drunk and we all got on one of those lines, and we were talking to people all over London until like 7 in the morning. And then we all woke up around midday and were completely hungover. What should we do? Oh, there's that film. Oh, no, we can't see a film. We'll fall asleep. But we all went and we were completely knackered. As soon as the film started, that was it. We were all like, this is good. And yeah, I knew it was going to be good because I was already a big fan of Paul Verhoeven. So I thought,
Mhm.
Paul Verhoeven, science fiction, can't go wrong.
Well, I have to say that when I first saw it, I was kind of surprised by it. I was like shell shocked because I wasn't expecting it to be as violent as it was.
Oh yeah,
Um, I,
it's
I,
very
oh
violent.
yeah, I was kind of like this when I was looking at it, like I can't believe what I'm looking at. And then after seeing it a few more times, I was like, oh okay, I understood it much better the second time, and the first time it shocked me. I
It's
did
got
like it, but it
it's
shocked
got the
me.
same tone, violence wise, as RoboCop. It very much is a sort of comic book story, that's almost a parody of itself. But and it works because of that.
Absolutely, it does. Just it's incredible, like, and all the subtext is just, so brilliant. And Keith E says, "Thank you both for all that you do." Oh, thank you, Keith E, for all that you do. You're always here,
Oh,
and really like a huge cheerleader for all the channels that are retro, and definitely I can't speak enough
I'm
of
I'm
what
I'm
you're
merely a guest here, but thank you.
what you do for this channel is really incredible. We appreciate you so much, so very much.
What's the topic next Friday?
Next Friday, we will be fixing the Terminator franchise. So
The fixing the Terminator franchise.
yes, yes.
Can I be part of that? Because I could just write out a pitch and read it out for my Terminator. thing.
Sure, why not? Um,
If I'm here, I'll be up for. I don't have to come on for the whole thing, but you could just have me come on as right. Here's Lance's
well,
pitch.
it might be a while, is where it might be going for. This might be small cakes compared to that one, and I am going to start it at 3, so you can
You're
come in
starting it at
later.
3 in the afternoon.
Well, 3, yeah, for an hour earlier, so whatever the time
Okay,
you
that would
were
be
here.
9 p.m. my
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
No, that's
so
cool. I mean, if I'm around,
yeah.
I'll
If
be in.
you're
I know
around,
I've got a date on the Saturday, but on the Friday, I think I'm
ooh,
available.
okay,
Yeah,
yeah, good luck with everything. I'm sure you're gonna, be awesome, and you're gonna
that's a whole separate discussion. Uh, but not for this. Not for this stream.
Oh, man. Would like to know more. Yeah, it's basic would like
That's
to
from
know more.
Starship Troopers.
That's
Would you
from
like to know
Star Trek.
more?
Yeah, that's from Star Trek. Super Bro, where were you? I gotta have you on the channel, Super Bros. You're delightful, and yeah, definitely putting you on the list. I might be hitting you up soon. And Keith E says Terminator will be for the next 6 Fridays. Should we do it like that? I don't know. And maybe it should be more than one episode. But yeah, we're gonna attempt to fix the Terminator franchise. And I have some ideas. It looks like Lance has some ideas. I don't know if you guys have some ideas as well. If you have any really great ideas, I'll tell you this: if you have any great ideas and you want to pitch them to me, go on ahead and use my email in the description down below and send me your pitch for fixing the Terminator franchise. And let me also know if you want to tell the audience in person, or if you want to have me read it for you. Okay, so go on ahead and do that. That should be a lot of fun.
I'm trying to find pictures of this Starship Troopers game that this games club did, and it was really fantastic. And they had, like, they had, because I don't know if you remember the Mattel toy range, they brought out the bugs, a different range of the bugs, and some guy managed to get his hands on about 300 of the warrior bugs.
Oh wow.
And they did this big game of Starship Troopers at a game show, and it was fantastic. And I've been trying to buy the bugs off him ever since, because he's getting on a bit now. What does he need all these bugs for? But I can't. I thought I had it, but I was just trying to find the pictures of it. But that game has been at quite a few shows around the country, and it looks really good. Maybe if I just put in Starship Troopers tabletop game. There is also, I don't know if you know, but you might want to mention this in your stream tomorrow.
Okay.
It was licensed as a tabletop war game a few years ago. I think about 5 years ago. You'll be able to find pictures of that, and you'd get your basic pack that would come with a whole load of warrior bugs and things like that. But the warrior bugs were so fiddly to build.
Oh, I can imagine. With all
Yeah,
of
I mean,
them.
I'm not a great. I've got some pictures of that for you, actually, if you want to see real quick what they look like. Here you go. And you can maybe, this is something maybe you could add to your stream tomorrow, because all you need to do is just type in Starship Troopers tabletop game, and you'll get various images of it coming up. But my friend's game was made by he did it with the toy line, not with these. These are the ones. This is the game that came out a few years ago, and you can see how. So these are plastic figures, so you can see how thin the legs
Oh,
are.
cool. Yeah.
So I mean, they look great, but they are really fiddly to build, and they break really easily. So storing them is quite difficult. But there was a board game that came out in the 70s, because it's all based on the book, and that board game, that's the one there, and you can look that up on Wikipedia. I used to own that board game. That's done by a company called Avalon Hill. That's an American war game company, and that was a really popular board game.
Oh, cool.
So when the film came out, you didn't just have the audience that had read the book, you had the audience that had played the board game in the 70s as well.
Oh, wow.
And then they did the modern board game, which is the miniatures game, which was this one. So plus my friend's game, which I still can't find any pictures of, but using the toys.
Oh,
So
cool.
there you go, a few bits of extra information for the stream tomorrow.
Well, I'm just going to refer back to this because we'll definitely do the watch party will be a lot right there. But guys, I wanted to say thank you so very much for again being here. And I do have a 3-minute video that you can leave your last comments, say goodbye to any of the friends that you have in the chat, any friends that you made tonight, and also you can say any last words to me, or any ideas you may have for fixing the Terminator
Well,
franchise.
that's coming later.
Oh boy. All right. Well, good night, everyone. And without further ado, I bid you adieu. Take care.
Retro Nerd Girl, you are clear for takeoff.